Okay. Let's check the old platforms to see if we're actually live on these websites.
That's right. I got Twitch.
Doesn't look like it.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, there we go. And what about the YouTube?
Yep, there it is.
Hello, Delaroth. Good to see you. This is not the Jake and Joe postseason show. This is unsponsored content, which means we're doing this out of the goodness of our hearts for free.
Unless you want to sponsor it, Delaroth.
We're doing this based on the support of viewers like you. Glad you got the YouTube stream to work. Okay, good. The YouTube stream is working.
Perfect.
I haven't been able to check that yet. I'm checking it now. Okay. I see that it's working. All right. So I can tweet a YouTube link.
And I'm going to send out a Twitch link here. Although it's giving me there it is. There's the link.
You're live. Yeah, we know.
We know. We're giving it a second.
Are in Columbus, where I'd toss you a fiver. You could toss us digital fivers, but you don't have to. That's not what we're asking for. Curious to see how many people are going to be on YouTube. It looks like 5. So 42 on Twitch. Got to edit the didn't think about this. Got to edit the
title. Stream.
Title. How do I do this? Edit. Talking Bengals offseason with Jake and Joe. YouTube.
I do like that we can see the chat right here because we didn't have that before.
Yep. Did I get a haircut? I got a haircut a week ago.
Nice. Not going with the blowout anymore, huh?
What do you mean?
Just the fro, you know.
Never did.
Oh,
this is like, it's a little bit shorter, but this is usually what I go to every 4 weeks.
The sides look short.
Yeah, they've been shorter, but yeah.
No, it looks good.
Thank you. Share your brainiacs with us. We didn't really discuss a structure for this at all.
No, I thought we should do an overview because I would like to do these more routinely. So we don't have to do everything today, but I would at some point doing these would like to go over the roster, you know, from a high level perspective and then get into the weeds of it that we normally can't do on a show or podcast where we just can't, you know, chill and talk for an hour and a half and
until I get hungry or fall asleep on my keyboard.
One of the two. And it doesn't have to be an hour and a half. I was just giving an example. You know,
we got my Doritos.
What's the black bag?
Sweet chili heat.
I just got back. I had a very busy day today. Right? When your phone's still at 81% and it's 9:55, you've done well today.
Especially for Joe Goodberry.
Especially for me.
Typically editing videos on your phone throughout a day. Mike, appreciate it, buddy. You guys are the best of Bengals coverage. Thank you. So if you're watching on YouTube, thank you. If you're watching on Twitch, also thank you. We have a thing that is combining the chats here.
I see that. That's cool.
Which is great, but you guys can't see the chats from each other. Jordan Colvin just finished Severance Season 2, Episode 1. Great show. Can you talk about the news that came out about the lease? I haven't seen this news, but I have seen people asking about it.
And I saw people tweeting about it. I wouldn't want to talk about it unless I really dove into the details, which without it, it'd be tough. I understand it's big news now, and a lot of people would like to talk about it. But watching this happen with the Bills very recently, you know, over the last, 15 years until they got the new stadium and all that put together, it can be an up and down process. Don't lose hope. Don't lose faith. Don't get too frustrated. Both sides are going to attack each other until they find a deal.
Somebody post a link to the article so I can ignore Joe and read it.
Yeah.
While he's talking about things. No, I'm not going to do that, but I will try to check it out at some point.
I was going to say, as for the show, though, to finish the thought there was we want to do everything eventually, from looking at rosters, talking to individual players. Should this guy be kept? Should we re-sign this guy? Who's going to be cut? Cap versus cash, cap in general, free agent guys we like, draft prospects. If you've never seen us before, we will watch film of draft prospects and just, hey, we haven't seen this guy. Well, we watched Brian Thomas Jr. last year, and we're like, man, Jane Daniels is getting wrecked in this game. And you watch the rest of the season as a rookie, and not only is Daniels great, but he gets wrecked in every single game. And I thought that was funny to look back on, that we noticed it in our few games watching. But we plan on doing all of those things. So your questions will guide us in a lot of this. And if we don't have a plan, but today's the first of the off season, we're going to have an overview, and as detailed as you want us to get on whatever subject that comes up, or if you want to bring something up, do it in the comments and we will dive in.
Yeah. Today we were thinking of just taking a look at what to expect this offseason, like Joe said. I wrote about it this week. Joe did a video about it this week. Joe also did a video on Bengals on the Brain, which is sponsored by First Star Logistics. This is not sponsored. This is, like I said earlier, this is totally unsponsored content for now, unless somebody out there does want to sponsor us.
Yeah, we would do that.
Feel free to get in touch. But you did a video on how the Bengals can actually kind of go cap neutral with extensions for T. Higgins and Jamar Chase.
That's a great way to put it, Jake. I
Trey
should have ran it past you first. Cap neutral is a great way. I didn't think about that.
This is why we work together. And of course, those of you that have been following me for a long time pay close attention to all cap things, structure things. And so one of the things that we work on every year, and I'll give you guys a sneak peek because you're here. We haven't really put much work into this yet, but one of the things that we do every year is we do a free agency sheet.
That's right.
And how do I get it on the screen? I didn't want to make myself big. I want this to be big. There we go.
Have you started? I haven't looked.
We have. Well, no, you did. Okay.
I did. Yeah.
All right. So I haven't started. So you guys are getting a sneak peek at Joe's tears here. I'm moving my microphone out of the way. If at any point I am too hard to hear, I'll move it back, but it's in my way.
We lost a couple levels of volume on you there, but you're back again.
I mean, I can. There's some things
that's perfect. Yeah.
To manage this as well. Okay, so obviously what we have here is we're going to have a PFF ranking, and our guy Neil Engelberger does so much work.
Shout out to Neil
to get these in here. He is the invaluable cog in the machine that keeps this thing going. $25 for your band to be the sponsor. That'll get you an episode.
Yeah, no doubt.
You can get an episode. We'll play your music, dog. Shout out to Joel in the chat as well. And we've got the PFF projected deals. Now, the one thing I'll say about these PFF projected deals is I don't know how much
Brad Spielberger.
I don't know how much Brad Spielberger imparted to his replacement at PFF, who did all of
Where's Brad?
Brad is now doing, I don't know if I can say what Brad is doing.
Oh, but that's fun.
I do know. I don't know if it's public. Let me check his Twitter profile real quick.
Brad is the best at it, though. And so that's the point you're trying to make here is we don't know anymore if these are accurate, but Brad was fantastic.
Okay, I can say what he's doing. This is Brad Spielberger is now the Director of Football Administration at GCS, Grand Central Sports Management. I think he relocated to Pittsburgh, unfortunately. Yeah, he did, which I don't remember why that is, but he is a lawyer, and now he's working with an agency.
That makes perfect sense.
And that is public knowledge. I just wasn't sure if it was or it wasn't, but he's now an agent. So anyway, one of the things that I inspired by Joe's work decided to do was to really dig into some of the financials that we can expect from the Bengals this offseason from a cash spend perspective, because that's something else that you talked about in your video, Joe, is you kind of hinted at this idea that there's cash spending and there's cap spending. And these are totally separate things. And so one of the things that's interesting is you can, with SpoTrack, get at least an idea of cash spending by year. So one of the tabs in our sheet this year in free agency, and I just put it here because I didn't know where else to put it, but it's going to live here now, is cash
and this
spending.
will be public for you guys if you haven't seen it before. This will be available for you guys.
It will be. And I see there's some questions in the chat. I'm just going to get through what I'm talking about, and then we'll circle back to questions. We will. What we're probably going to do if we do these regularly, and we would like to do these regularly, is we're going to get through whatever we're going to get through, and then we'll have to set aside, okay, if you have questions, now's the time, because otherwise it's just going to be really too disjointed. Like I just spent 30 seconds talking about this when I was trying to orient to what we've got here. So what this sheet is cash spending by year from 2020 through next year, 2025. And I kind of did some subtotals here for like the last 5 years, which this goes 2020 to 2024, because obviously 2025 is incomplete. 3 years, 2 years. And then the first 2 years, when Joe Burrow arrived in Cincinnati. And here's Cincinnati down here. I guess we could color this column just so we can see it easily. Then over here is the last 5 years of cash spending by team. And I'm not sure if this data is accurate, because I don't think that the Steelers have actually spent like $100 million less. I guess it's only $40 million less than the next highest team, but like they would be way below average here. And I feel like somebody said that Dallas was one of the lowest spending teams in the last 5 years. And obviously they're up here in the top 6, 7, whatever it is. But Cincinnati would be below average if these numbers are accurate. And these are all just ripped straight out of Spotrac. I prefer to use over the cap, but these are off of Spotrac.
Why is Denver highlighted?
Denver is highlighted because before I made some changes, this column was the average. And now it is not the average, but it's pretty close to the average. Like between the, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. So the average would be, the mean is probably like this one, Arizona, or the Chargers. Anyway, the point of this isn't necessarily the ranking, although it is interesting. It is that it is predictive in telling us how much cash we can expect the Bengals to spend in 2025.
Because that's a big question a lot of people will get to. When you say they can do it cap-wise, the next question the smart people will say is, well, can they actually afford it in terms of cash? And that's where this comes in.
Yeah. This might be really dry for some of you, and apologies if that's the case. But the way we can figure out cash spending is it's typically indexed for every NFL team. You can get an idea of how much cash they're going to spend, because you can say, okay, well, how much cash do they normally spend compared to cap? This is called cash over cap spending, and the terminology that I've inherited from Andre Parada, who introduced me to this idea. And so what we have down here is the Bengals cash over cap spending each year from 2020 to 2024. And I don't know if you guys can see that. I'll make it a little bit bigger in case somebody's watching like on a small screen or something like that. But what these numbers tell us is that the Bengals on average spend about 8.5% more cash than the unadjusted salary cap in a given year. So for example, in 2024, they were right on that average, 8%. And the salary cap, the unadjusted salary cap, I didn't actually put in the sheet.
For next year?
No, for this year. We don't have next year's yet.
Oh, that's right. It's not official yet. Correct.
Yeah. So regardless, it worked out to, here's the unadjusted cap. $255 million was the unadjusted cap last year. The Bengals then spent in cash $275 million in cash. So say, for example, the salary cap goes up by the same percentage that it went up in 2024 compared to 2025. So we'll do this times this divided by this. And then we would get a salary cap in
290.
2025 unadjusted cap. The Bengals would be probably $5 million higher, $7 million higher, depending on adjustments from rollover and any bonuses that weren't included. And doesn't matter. The Bengals will be a little bit higher, say $5 to $7 to $8 million higher than whatever the unadjusted cap number is. And this will all be reported. If we took that 8.5%, then we could say, okay, how much money are the Bengals going to spend? Say that 8.5%, they're going to spend about $315 million in cash next year.
Great.
I got to a different number when I was looking at this, but then you look and see, okay, well, how much cash do the Bengals have on the books next year? $186 million. That's like $120 million to spend, right?
And that's before cuts.
And that's before cuts. If they cut Sam Hubbard, and
easily get to 150, 160.
Yeah, I mean, it essentially means they've spent half of their cash when they get to cuts. Sam Hubbard, Jermaine Pratt. We'll talk about these cap cut candidates, I think, tonight as well. But I did write about all of this.
It was a great article.
Thank you, Joe.
The gist is, yes, they can afford all of these things.
They can afford so much.
So much.
I'm trying to find the article. I will share it on the screen.
Yeah, because it's got numbers in there, right?
Yeah. And so if you want to read it, I'll put it in the chat as well, in case anybody didn't read it. If you're here, you probably read it. But
one more point from my part here, because a lot of people that, I don't care if you're on the positive side or negative side, the offseason is for hope and for fun and stay on the positive side. But if you are on the negative side, the Bengals don't spend money, because I feel that I have those bones in my body as well. Even on the negative side of it, this tells you they have a lot of money to spend, and they will spend a lot of money.
Yeah, the interesting thing one of the interesting things that I found is that the years that they've spent money have been the years, obviously, that they paid Joe Burrow a contract. Joe Burrow has had 2 very large signing bonuses, and when they signed Joe Burrow to his extension, they also paid out the biggest signing bonus to a non-quarterback in team history, which was Orlando Brown's $31 million signing bonus. So they spent a ton of money that year. And when we go back and you look at the spreadsheet, their cash over cap in 2023 is 15%, which is second to only when they initially signed Joe Burrow when they drafted him, because he got paid out in a big, he took almost all of his
number one pick.
Yeah, but then their structure, like the amount of money is set by the pick, but he chose to have it all paid out as a signing.
That's right. I remember that. Yep.
So there's a big cash outlay that year. So if the Bengals have $160 million to spend, well, then we can look it over the cap, right?
That is fun. I'm going to tell you that. That's fun.
It would be so much more fun in so many other years.
I know.
To be honest,
a great free agent year, which is why they probably extend the guys they need to extend.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know where else they're spending the money, but the way you come up with these cash numbers, and we'll have a little bit of cash versus cap conversation here, is we can look at all these potential cut contracts, even though Jermaine Pratt thinks it's clown behavior to suggest that he will be cut. I don't know if you saw that, Joe. You probably didn't. He responded.
I just did.
Yeah,
He responded to James.
So Sam Hubbard next year is on the Bengals books for salary cap, and this is maybe remedial if you understand how all the cap stuff works, but his cap number next year is $11.5 million. And his base salary for next year, plus his per game roster bonuses, plus his workout bonuses, those are the monies that he's actually owed next year. So he's actually owed, if he's active for every single game next year and he doesn't miss the workout bonus, whatever the offseason workout bonus is that this is attached to, which he will. Sam Hubbard wouldn't. He will be owed $9.6 million. And then this $2 million makes up the difference for the cap number. The salary cap, the way you got to think about the salary cap, and again, if you've been listening to me for a long time, you've heard me say this before, is this simply an accounting mechanism? If you're an accountant, the salary cap makes sense to you, but only like 0.001% of people are crazy enough to be accountants in the world. And so there's probably nobody in here listening. But the way that the salary cap works is it allows you to take current year expenses and move them around into future years. And the Bengals don't do a lot of this, but that's where you get differences in cash versus cap. This is most visible, actually. Oh, you can't see it right now. I should change the way that I'm sharing my screen. 1 second.
It could be bigger, but because the Bengals don't manipulate the cap is a reason why they have so much cap space every single year. Like, this won't change. And even that page you were on, if we do all these things, and I did it in my video where we extend all these guys, it still says in 2026 and 2027 that they have tons of cap space. One, because they don't have a lot of guys that they haven't drafted well enough to have already extended these guys. Yeah. Some of these other maybe tier 2, tier 3 guys that should be in range for being extended, they're not on the roster. So the Bengals have to dive into free agency in order to fill that and backfill that from their misses in the draft. Yeah,
and these are the ones that I think are like nearly guaranteed cuts, if not guaranteed cuts. And Hubbard might be back just on a different deal. And Hubbard, they might get away without having a dead. I mean, it doesn't really matter the dead cap hit, but they might just lower the salary number. Be like, Sam, we'll bring you back. We're just going to pay you $1 million this year.
Rip it up, yeah,
instead of $9 million. And you can still have some incentives or whatever. You hit 10 sacks, we'll give you another $1 million. Or maybe $2 million if he gets 10 sacks, whatever it is.
50% playing time, whatever, things like that.
Oh, what happened? Did my screen just disappear?
No, I still see it. Mine
disappeared for me, which is quite
That's
weird.
funny. Now I see all of your.
Yeah. Okay. I'm just going to try to take it off and put it back on again.
Yes, when we're talking about pay trade too, we're talking about, it's not just Higgins that we're doing this. We're saying Higgins, Trey, Jamar, and it's a lot of money. It's a lot of cash, but the reason we have to start with how much do they actually have, that's the basis for our launch point into the offseason.
Okay. I'm just going to see a black screen, so I'm not going to know what I'm sharing, I guess.
Really?
Is the moral of the story. Yeah. I almost don't know how they don't end up paying all these guys. There's a lot of people talking about, well, should they trade Trey Hendrickson? Maybe not a lot. Maybe it's just Paul Dehner and Mo Egger. Should they trade Trey Hendrickson and the only good player on their defense, the all-pro, literally like the first all-pro in how long on their defense?
Yeah.
And to me, it's really like, who else are you paying?
Because they won't go pay a similar level player. Now, maybe they get lucky and find another Trey, but this free agency doesn't seem to, like, remember when the Bengals did it, when they were most successful in free agency, it was a weird cap 2 years in a row coming off of COVID. In 2020, 2021, I think Bengals took advantage, found some bargains, and struck it big. If they can do that again, great. But the chances of them actually finding another Trey or even a Mike Hilton or Chidobe Awuzie, those guys may be more likely, but to find an all-pro, 4-time straight Pro Bowler, oh man, I feel like you're shooting a very small. You're trying to thread a very small needle there that they luckily did.
And we've been talking about who is the core of the team,
right?
And the answer to that question is these guys. The young players that are the core of the team are Joe Burrow, T. Higgins, and Jamar Chase. Chase Brown, if you want. I don't know if they're extending Chase Brown.
Right. He comes 2 years.
There's 2 years left there, but you can certainly build around that for 2 years. Who else is part of the young core? I mean, Trey isn't young, but he's part of the core. You could certainly make an argument that he's part of the core for a couple of years. Orlando Brown, certainly part of the core for a couple of years. And the concern there would be, can he get through a season healthy? But
sure.
I would say extend him now, but
can he get through the season Mims for
healthy? Ideally Mims.
Right. If he's got to take a step.
There.
Yeah.
Logan Wilson would be the only other guy I think there's an argument for that is like an established guy. But again,
2 years left?
What's he have? 2 years?
Yeah.
3 years.
Could be 3 more?
Yeah, they did a 5-year with him. Or did they do a 5-year with him? Yeah, they did a 5-year with him. I would be pretty surprised if Logan Wilson sees the last year of this deal.
Because it was an extension, right?
It was an extension.
Yeah. So it was a 4-year extension, right? And a 3-year free agent.
Yes, it was a 4-year extension.
Okay.
Yes.
I don't know if you saw the questions on here before we got off the cap.
Questions. Let's catch up on questions.
They're asking about how much of guaranteed cash has to be put into an escrow account. That used to be, from what we understand, it used to be 100% of the guaranteed money had to be put into escrow.
Minus $10 million per year or something, or $5 million per year. And that's been, that exclusion has been expanded, but it's still almost all of the guaranteed money.
Right. So you save a little. It's a little helpful. It's a little relief for the Bengals because they're fundamentally against it. It appears.
When we count cash spending every year, are we counting total guarantees throughout the contract? No. So when we're counting cap spending or cash spending, we're counting whatever money is due to a player in a given year. So
that's how much the player actually makes. That's how much the team is actually giving them.
So for Orlando Brown, he got a $64 million contract from the Bengals. He got $31 million of those dollars as a signing bonus. That leaves $63 million for the other 4 years of the deal for him to get paid. So he got a pretty much minimum salary in year one. He's got some per game roster bonuses every year. He's got a workout bonus every year. But next year, and you can kind of see it down here when you look at the cash.
Yeah, there's the cash at the bottom. Okay. Yeah, it's right. It's kind of small on your share, but there, that's better. Yeah,
so you can see that Orlando Brown next year is due
Nothing.
$7.5 million, which is the base salary plus per game roster bonuses plus workout bonus.
That's probably the best value of any tackle in the league. And there is a page on over the cap where you can see cash paid for and rank a position and get who's the highest paid in terms of cash. And I bet that's a great value in terms because these guys are typically getting much more cash throughout.
But one of the things that I was looking at when we were looking at, sorry, not to totally change the subject. One of the things that we were looking at when we're looking at potential cap cuts is also cash cuts because it tells us how much money the Bengals are going to have to spend. And they're going to pay Jamar Chase like a $40 million signing bonus. They're going to pay Trey Hendrickson probably another $15 million signing bonus if they give him a 2-year extension, maybe 20. They're going to pay T. Higgins probably a $30 million signing bonus. And how much money is that? That you're already at $90 million. And then they can probably do another $50 million for external free agents. Say they want to go get a defensive tackle. That's probably $20 million.
Yeah, I was thinking that. Originally, I was thinking 30, maybe a signing bonus.
They don't really do that with external free agents, Orlando Brown accepted.
Being the only one, right. And that's why I was thinking it would have to be someone they were confident in, a multi-time Pro Bowler that wanted to come to Cincinnati. It was a unique situation for Orlando Brown.
And are those guys out there? Like we can
go back to our.
Do we have our 2025? Here we are. Oh, I already have this open somewhere. Nope, that's not it. Don't have it yet. Okay. I'll get it open at some point here. The cash spending, though, is why at various points when we're covering free agency, I will say things like, I think they're going to still sign probably another player.
Right.
We're expecting them to spend.
You've done well predicting that when we've gotten into the third waves.
Until this year. And I was like, they're going to sign another guy, and then they just didn't. I think they tried a couple of guys, and then they just decided, we'll just go with what we got. And Tier Tart went elsewhere, and
that's right.
Mekhi Becton went elsewhere.
And I've heard some things about those. I don't know if you have, but it basically was down to guaranteed money on that. And it wasn't a ton. But the Bengals just didn't want to move. They basically wanted to give a minimum salary with the minimum guaranteed. For a veteran, it wasn't like there was complete minimum. But if I were to throw out numbers without getting too specific, it was like a third of what he ended up getting. If the Eagles gave Becton $3 million or $2.5 million guaranteed, the Bengals were like, we'll guarantee $1.5 million of it.
Yeah. I don't really know what to say about their practices around guarantees. I don't know. So I did also hear that it wasn't strictly money. Maybe it was. You could
from their perspective, it wasn't just money. It was also fit and character. And
I think perhaps they would have been more comfortable. But we're talking 1-year contracts,
right? What do you care?
Well, they're worried about cutting them in the preseason or midseason and still having to pay them money. I mean, I think so you know how for a while we pushed back against the cheap allegations?
Yeah, I'm kind of with them again.
I'm back to not pushing back on the cheap allegations anymore.
I'm with you too.
The cheap allegations are misdirected.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
But they are cheap.
They're cheap.
I think that is undeniable at this point. And I was talking to Andre about this the other day. At some point, you got to pay some money to people, and people often ask, do they have the cash? Are they liquid enough? And the answer is always yes, but they choose not to.
It's a self-imposed cap.
It is. And Delaroe saying it's not cheap, they're choosy with how they spend their money. I mean, that's a synonym. That's the same thing. They're choosy about how they spend their money, but then we've talked about this many times, Joe, in the last year or two in particular. Then they end up signing, instead of Jesse Bates, Logan Wilson, Jermaine Pratt, Alex Kappa, Sheldon Rankin, Sam Hubbard, Zach Moss, Geno Stone, all these contracts that you're about to cut because all of these mid-level expenditures haven't hit DJ Reader. Well, DJ Reader is a big expender. Cheeto hit or Mike Hilton hit, right? And when you don't get those uncommon hits on your value free agent, Trey Hendrickson, another great example, turns into an all-pro. When you don't get those hits, then you're just a shitty team.
Yeah.
And when you're spending all the money on defense that they're spending, and you're not getting like one of the things over the cap does is they show you an estimated value based on output.
Oh, actually, never gone over there.
I mean, this is a rough number,
Sure.
but it's based on. Oh, they used to explain what it was based on. Like there was 1 week, I think this must be the week Sheldon Rankins had a sack.
And that was
Go
it.
look at what he did that week. But like the other weeks, even when he was active, you're talking about a bye week performance of like $4 million.
That's veteran to replacement level. Find that guy on the street.
Yes. And to be fair, the Bengals need that level of player. This is a level of player the Bengals have not invested in, the $3 million player, the $4 million player. They only did this with Akeem Davis-Gaither, and that's like the only example that I can think of in the last few years. They'll do veteran minimum guys, or they'll pay mid-tier guys, or they'll have Orlando Brown fall under their laps, or they'll pay top dollar for their own guys sometimes.
Right.
And the problem with that is that then you have like Zach Carter and Lawrence Guy, and like these are your defensive tackles for a few weeks of the season, and you lose games
even
because
if you
of it.
had
And
Chris
then you have to
Jenkins and
cut them.
McKinley Jackson, that's a bad plan. We know
Well, it's a
rookie
terrible
defensive
plan.
tackles take time. You can't just throw them into the fire and why aren't we good?
Yeah, and they're
not supposed to be.
They know that. I mean, even the really good defensive like it's once every 3 years you get a defensive tackle that has a Pro Bowl level year as a rookie.
Yeah, I've looked this up and done the data digging when Zach Carter had his bad rookie year and then sophomore. I'm like, there's no hope for him, right? But based on PFF grades of what he produced and looking at what rookies normally do at D tackle, it is rare to get a good one. Even Braden Fisk this year accumulated sacks, but was still rough and up and down in a lot of his play.
Yeah. I mean, you can go look at some of the really good defensive tackles that have become great players. Like Dexter Lawrence might be an example of one that was good as a rookie. Christian Wilkins might have been good as a rookie, but these guys are rare.
Yeah.
And they get better.
And their first round
especially
picks.
if they're good as a rookie. Yeah, and the Bengals don't spend first round picks at defensive tackle. But where I was going is that you one look at these players that you're not getting any value out of. We look at Sam Hubbard, it's $3 million is the over the cap valuation, and a lot of that is coming from whatever happened in week 5. Did he have a?
That was the game we thought he was healthy again, and I can't remember who it was.
Week 5 would have been Baltimore, no? Isn't that they dropped to 1-4 against Baltimore in week 5?
Correct.
Yeah. Didn't he have a touchdown or something in this game?
In the Baltimore game?
He had a safety.
Oh.
He was unblocked on that running play and had a safety.
That is a forgotten game or a forgotten play of the season. Can I touch on something real fast before we go too far? There's a comment down here that I thought was interesting and definitely will be part of the whole off-season discussion. It's from Gypsies 777. So we just went 9-8 with Burrow, Jamar, and T. The price of that trio is about to double. And this is something I have said for a couple of years now as well. Whether you're signing T or not, you're not making it back to the Super Bowl because of those guys anymore. And you got to understand what I'm saying. You made it probably in 2021 because those guys were cheap and good, and you were spending money in quality ways in other parts of the roster. In order to get back there, you're going to get there because Joe, Jamar, and T are good, right? But you're not getting increased value from that. You're getting less value from that. It's going to happen because you're going to find another T, another Jamar, another Trey Hendrickson, and Mike Hilton in free agency, but you're going to find impact from the draft, which they have not done. And you're going to find free agents and get good values, which they have not done. So they're going to get there again if they do, because they hit in the draft and because they hit in free agency. It has to happen. They have no other choice. It is why the offseason is so important, and we're going to have a microscope over every decision they make.
And I think you can look at every team that's still in the playoffs, and they are getting significant contributions from rookies.
I talked about this as well. You have to look at the classes. And it's funny, I've been retweeting our scores from our draft spreadsheet of what we thought of their draft classes. And it's been interesting to see, every game that happens, I'm like, okay, here's Washington and the Bucks. Man, they had a good draft. We thought they had a good draft. The Bengals need to have a good draft here if they want to bounce back.
Yeah. And it's not like 24 is a mess. It's just when they're not picking in the top of the round, they really struggle to find impact players.
They do.
Like they've had Jesse Bates, they've had Geno Atkins, they've had Carlos Dunlap, but it's been a while. And then they didn't keep Jesse Bates, which is a huge problem, I think, in and of itself. But
24
I think
is solid, and that's the I think the consensus is that's a solid draft, but you also had 10 picks. But also,
and you're picking earlier than you've been picking for 3 years.
Right. How many impact players do we think they've gotten out of that class if we were to project?
Hopefully one.
Hopefully Mims turns into an impact player. Yeah. More than likely, he's just a solid player based on what we got. But also, he was developmental, so maybe we don't actually know what his curve may look like. If it's Mims, I mean, that based on what we got as rookies, it's Mims, and everyone else looks like role players.
Which is disappointing when you take defensive tackles, 2 defensive tackles on day 2.
Yeah.
Like you should be able to get some decent players there. And it was a poor defensive tackle class. This is something else I think we can be critical of the Bengals for. Dalton Kincaid draft class, good tight end class. Sam Laporta draft class, good tight end class.
Tucker Kraft.
You see any tight ends picked that year, Joe?
No. They have avoided the strong classes, and the Zach Carter class was one of the worst defensive tackle classes we've ever seen.
And just like last year was also a terrible defensive tackle class, especially after you got past the top couple of guys. And they pick a nose tackle in the 3rd round. I mean,
and it was a strong nose tackle class. So taking
last year, no. Well, last year was there are like a 6 draftable nose tackles in the 7th round.
Yes, that's what I wanted to say.
6 7th round players. Yeah, there's one that was a solid looking prospect, and he was a train wreck off the field.
Yeah, that's the point I wanted to make. There was a ton of nose tackles you could draft, and we all said, "Hey, take them 5th, 6th, 7th round." And the Bengals go and spend the 97th pick on them, and it was like, "Oh, you better be good. You better be right."
And McKinley Jackson has been.
He flashed at the end.
He got better late in the season, but he's still only playing like 20 snaps a game.
He may be this number 2. If we were to rank, and I did do a rankings of the rookies, McKinley Jackson might be number 2 if you're projecting guys that are impact players or solid to good starters for this team for the next 4 years, 3 years now.
Yeah, you're getting nothing from Jermaine Burton until otherwise shown. He might not even be on the team next year. We'll see. I don't think they're cutting him, but his leash is only shortening.
Himself.
Yeah, I mean, it might become inevitable. You never know what's happening there. Hopefully, he just gets it together and gets his head on straight and can figure it out, but it hasn't happened for him so far. Eric All, the injuries, significant problem there. Joe, talk about Eric All while I choke.
Yeah, we knew he had injuries coming out. That's why he was a value there. And then, honestly, is it even a value if you get him in the 4th round? We were thinking 4th was probably the highest Eric All would go. Sounds like a lot of teams did like him and wanted to bank on that upside and get him healthy. And we saw it. The impact was there. I would love if Eric All was healthy. He looks like he could have made a difference for this offense throughout the year. But 6 years now, he's played over 250 snaps or 255 one time. He can't stay healthy, and now he just injured his knee that he already injured before. Again, that is not a good sign. You can't go into 2025 even thinking of Eric All on the roster. You have to build that tight end room, and if he's healthy and plays, it's a bonus, and it's great, and we'll accept him. But if he plays more than 250 snaps, it would be a surprise.
And it's kind of brutal because it's like, look at Alex Kappa. It's an issue with these guys where eventually the injuries catch up. And Eric All, I think, is a good athlete. So he might get a little bit more life out of his body in terms of like NFL life, right? Yeah. But over time, it's not just aging with some of these guys that fall off. It's also like there's an injury that saps some of their athleticism, or, there's a bunch of things that add up, and it's a bunch of little 5% reductions or 1% deductions in athleticism. And then at some point, it seems like they've fallen off a cliff, but it's just like, that injury was the last straw. It was the straw that broke the camel's back, and now you're not a productive player anymore. Dick Lebowski says they seem to have improved the rotational players. I wonder what you think about this, Joe, because to me, I don't know where they've gotten better as far as like rotation. Like let's look at a depth chart.
Well, I do think Josh Newton is quality depth. If we're saying who are impact players, and we said, well, maybe Mims. Well, I do think there could be quality depth there. I think Chris Jenkins can end up being quality depth, if not a low-end starter. I think McKinley Jackson can be quality depth, if not a low-end to solid starter. Eric All, maybe he's just depth at tight end, and you have to manage him. And, if he ever does get back and play, well, great. That is solid depth. But that is definitely not the goal for where the team is at right now. They did need the depth, but this next class needs to, you need to find 3 impact starters at some point in one of these classes. You need to get lucky.
And there's no tight ends on the roster next year, something that I'm looking at, which is probably not related to what we were just talking about. But when we're looking at the depth chart next year, like you got Drew Sample.
A little bit for me.
Okay. You got Drew Sample, who is that still okay? You can see.
No, that's good. Yep.
Okay. Drew Sample, who doesn't have any, from what I recall, doesn't have. Well, I was going to say doesn't have any dead money attached to his contract.
He doesn't. His cash was big year 1, and then it's fine now after this. He's not making a lot.
Where is it? This is very cheap to keep him. It's more of a roster spot consideration, but I think he's around. Is he on the screen right now? Yeah, here he is. Yeah, there's no signing bonus for Drew Sample, which was really weird. They gave him a big roster bonus up front.
Yeah.
So there's not a huge reason to cut him. And he's roughly worth what they're going to be paying him the next couple of years, according to over the cap valuation. But man, does his athleticism just not happen on the field? Did he have a lower body injury? He had I know he had a couple seasons. What was it?
The ACL.
He had an ACL. So where he was probably an average athlete.
He's below average now off of that.
And the transition to a runner is just it's so brutal. And he's an okay blocker, but
he's not athletic enough to be an impact blocker, in my opinion.
And I want him to be your third tight end, who is the second guy that you bring on the field in your heavy tight end packages.
Not leading the tight end room in snaps.
Yeah, not your base tight end who you're building everything off of. So you got Drew Sample, Eric Hall. We have no idea, and then Cam Grandy.
Yeah,
McLaughlin couldn't get active
over Grandy,
over Hudson late in the year.
And he's a 25-year-old rookie.
McLaughlin, I think, was swimming.
Yeah.
Is my understanding the entire year. So we need to rebuild the tight end room entirely. That's really it on offense. So you need to rebuild the tight end room. You need some guards.
Unless you say the guards is one room. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you need some guards. So I shouldn't say that's all you need. You need some guards. You need some tight ends on offense. There is as we're talking about some specific players here, let's wrap up some thoughts on the offense. We'll talk about running backs. We'll talk about the offensive line.
Running backs. Yeah.
And we need to talk about all the positions. We need to talk about receivers too, but
we do. Because of who they drafted, I think is a big sticking point for me.
And Charlie Jones couldn't get active late in the season either.
Yeah.
Which is kind of crazy he wasn't entirely healthy, but they have Burton up instead of Charlie Jones late in the season. And then they didn't have either.
Burton. Yeah.
Okay, so we'll talk about wide receivers too. Let's talk about guards next. They need 2 starting guards, obviously.
Yeah.
And there's been a lot of discussion that I've heard in the last week or so about Cody Ford, one, being in the starting mix, which is batshit crazy to me.
Nope.
But this is a thing that people are talking about. And 2, being the first offensive lineman off the bench at 4 positions. My reaction to that is that Cody Ford is a fine 8th lineman on your team.
Yes.
8th. The second guy or third guy off the bench at multiple
7
positions.
at best.
Fine.
7.
I'm best. Not. If he's your 7th offensive lineman, I don't feel great about it because Cordell Volson is going to be on the team next year too. So now you're using roster spots on Cody Ford and Cordell Volson.
That's your depth of those guys. That's your depth of guard. Yeah.
And both of those guys are 8th linemen.
Yeah.
Maybe 7th. Maybe you're right.
You don't have a lot of guys with 3,000 snaps at both guard spots as depth.
Yeah. I think they need a swing tackle again. They need a Trent Brown who can stay healthy, that caliber of player.
That'd be nice.
So there's that. It's one of the reasons I think they've have been. What's the right way to say this? Matt Lee is a center-only player.
Feels
which
that
is
way.
too bad. Because if he wasn't, you'd feel very different about this.
Mm-hmm.
I think we would feel like, well, maybe Matt Lee can be a quality seventh guy. But when he's only a center, that does make more difficult your offensive line depth building.
If you drafted Mason McCormick in the 4th instead of Eric All, you'd be looking at this much differently. You'd be like, man, what a value. That's great. And it's not like, even on PFF grades, he was like a 58 or something last time I checked. But he performed well enough that you go, 4th round pick. Year 2 of Volson, we'd be like, okay, if he wins the left guard spot, fine. Give me a good right guard. And you'd probably feel much better. But they just haven't found a way to draft any guards. All right.
McCormick was consistently good at run blocking.
Yes.
And
we need pass pro guys, though.
And Cordell might be their best run blocker, but he's still not good at it.
Exactly.
McCormick was actually good at it, at least.
Yeah.
Like if you had a guy on the offensive line, and people are talking about Trey Smith this offseason, right? If you wanted a run blocking guy, that would be what Trey Smith is. Trey Smith is a average at best, probably below average pass blocker, but he can move guys.
He might be the best run blocker.
So if you can get that, that's okay, but that's not what Cordell Volson is.
Right. He's a slightly average run blocker and below average isolated target for the defense pass blocker.
And some of this is also schematic. Like they don't have a good marriage of the pass game to the run game. It's got to be like a huge priority for them. We haven't talked about offensive line coach at all because we don't know anything about that. We'll see who it is when we find out who it is, and we'll go watch wherever they came from and hopefully get a sense for how they can fit in. If it's another wide zone guy, I'm going to have questions, to put it nicely. I'm going to take a pause here for a couple of questions. Is there anything else on offensive line before we get to a couple of questions? One of them is about the offensive line. So
just that I am eager to watch guards this year, eager to watch free agents. I feel like it'll be one draft pick. It'll be one free agent. And because I don't see them going out and signing 2 veterans. I think Alex Kappa is an easy cut, and I think they will cut him. I think they agree with that, especially for the dead money and what he's worth and what, they'll get back. You can sign a starter with that money and upgrade. You got below replacement level play at right guard, and you could spend probably half that money on Dalton Reisner and get better play. So there's a lot of opportunity to upgrade there and get better just by rolling the dice and getting better numbers this time. And I think I wouldn't be mad if you got a Kevin Zeitler in the 1st round, 17th pick, I don't think anyone here would be mad about that. And so it's a different draft. There may be only 12 to 14 to 15. We'll see, after the process goes of true first rounders this year, based on projections. And if you're in the back half of round 1, which the Bengals are the start of it, I would have no problem taking interior or a tackle that can play interior.
So tackle that can kick into guard is probably what it is. There's like one true guard who's getting talked about as a first rounder right now, which is that Alabama guard. What's his name?
We're too early for this. But Will Campbell, like the left tackle from LSU that's being talked about as a guard, sounds perfect.
Yeah, if there's a good tackle that you think can play guard, that's awesome. My hesitancy, Booker, thank you, is the Alabama guard. My hesitancy is, will it be the best player?
Well, that's a whole discussion because they have been drafting to fill needs.
Yeah, they got to stop. They got to stop drafting for future needs, for current needs, for position value, all this stuff. At some point have to take some impact players. This is something that we've been talking about recently and for the last year as well. If they're faced with a pick of a potential difference-making tight end or edge rusher versus a guard they think they can play right away, this is why you got to get to the draft without needing a starter.
Yeah. Del Roth brings up Dax Hill as like, that was a BPA pick. It was, but they also pegged him like right away, like, oh, you'll replace Jesse Bates. We know we're going to lose Bates. So let's stop doing that as well, right?
He was a future replacement.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was drafting for the future. And also, Dax Hill is one of the reasons that Lou Anarumo's gone.
Yeah, I think so.
And Joe, you and I disagreed about this, obviously, but I asked their scouts immediately after the draft if Dax could play corner. They said yes, and I think the front office felt that way all along, legitimately. And eventually, he ends up a corner and looked okay doing it. A few other questions on the offensive line and stuff that I wanted to get to here before we get to our next topic. One of the questions was, is Ted Karras a center only player? I think at this point in his career, he is. Joe, any thoughts there? I think that if you had him at guard dealing with some of the power that you deal with more on an island than you do as a center, I don't think that it would necessarily be where you want Ted Karras at this point.
Yeah, so Karras, he still had a good year, and I thought he was very effective as a pass protector in a lot of ways, and even sometimes getting out into the second level, he looked quicker than I expected for a guy who's getting up there. The extension was worthy. I think you still get solid play from him next year. Yeah. And he was a guard center in his past. We understand that. But as you lose something at guard, you better be a big power guard, in my opinion. And he's not that. That's not. Karras is an average size, average strength, average athleticism that is now aging. You're probably best keeping him at center. Plus, a lot of calls and stuff that happens is between Karras and Joe. Yeah. And for protection, you don't want to lose that. I understand wanting to get Matt Lee on the field, and we were as high as anyone on him. If you're with us during the live stream of the draft, we celebrated those picks and had a good time. But yes, I would say he's a center only, and let's focus on finding the right guards and grooming Lee for another year until he can hopefully take over.
Well, and I wouldn't be surprised if Karras gets another year if he keeps it up. Center is not a position that ages poorly, and Ted is not a player that has ever been an athletic specimen in either direction. He's always kind of been average at both things. And you're talking about if you're going to be a guard, you better be big or athletic. Right. You got to be one or the other. If you're kind of average at that spot, that doesn't age as well at guard as it does at center, in my mind.
Like Kappa is a decently sized guard. Remember, he played tackle at a very small school, but low pedigree in terms of athleticism. Couple injuries, one with the Bucks when they went to the Super Bowl, one with the Bengals when they went 2022 to the championship game. And you saw that take a toll where his athleticism was sapped. His ability to get low and play with leverage was sapped from him. And once that happens, that's when you can tell at the end of the road. It doesn't look like we're at the end of the road for Karras yet.
Yeah. And like, I'm not sure I know exactly what this comment means. And Ted's defensive guards on either side of him have been horrible. Yeah, for sure. I don't mean any of this to be negative on Ted. I just think that he's a good center. And I think that's where they should keep him. And part of it is also the Burrow-Karras relationship, like you're talking about, Joe. Like, that's where I can see him getting extra time and seeing his career in Cincinnati be extended a little bit. He really loves Cincinnati.
I don't think he wants to
go not terribly expensive. I think he likes playing with Joe. I think he likes a lot of things about playing for the Bengals right now. I'd be surprised to see Karras. I wouldn't be surprised, I should say, to see Karras get another year tacked on. The other question that I wanted to hit real quick was, will this be posted anywhere after? It'll be on YouTube. That's the benefit of streaming on YouTube, is the full thing will be on YouTube as well.
Yeah.
It won't be on Twitch forever, obviously, but it will be on YouTube. Anything else here that we want to get for questions? Go ahead, Joe.
I've got Mike asked, what's the thoughts on the Bengals draft philosophy? What are our thoughts on the Bengals draft philosophy? What should they do by position, best talent available? Because we touched on that, and I think it applies to wrap up this offensive look as well. We did make the comment earlier that these playoff teams are getting impact from rookies, and the Bengals are going to have to get impact for rookies. That also clashes a bit with drafting for needs. Like, so if you go fill all your needs in free agency, those rookies may not play right away. Now, injuries happen. That's why you can never really, you don't know who your needs are going to be in April. They're not going to be the same week 1 because guys are going to get hurt. They're not going to be the same week 10, week 18, right? So you just kind of have to draft and hope to draft the best players and good players and hope they play and hope to mix them in, because you don't want to waste that rookie year, that development, and the cheap production you get when a guy's in his rookie contract. That is valuable for a team that's paying their quarterback. So I don't have a easy answer to say they should do this every time because it's a case-by-case basis. You want to take the best player, best prospect you possibly can. But at the same time, there are times where you're like, we could use a tight end. And this next guy here, Tucker Kraft, if they would have taken him in round 2, people may have, thought, well, you got Hayden Hurst.
I would not have thought that, for the record. I love Tucker Kraft.
I just looked at this recently because we talked about Laporta versus Kraft a bunch. And they basically had the same exact season this year after Laporta had such a great year last year. But I saw this and I said, Kraft is right there with Laporta now. Look at that. And so there may have been, and the same with Laporta, though, if they would have taken him in the first round over Miles Murphy, right? Was that the draft? Yes. People would have said things, but take a good player and we'll come back at it and say, it really doesn't matter. You got to draft good players, obviously. So it's hard to answer that question. But when you see the way they have drafted, I think the good players they get from day 3, which has been a barren wasteland for them for so long. When you get Andre Osivach, that's like, we already drafted receivers. We don't need him to come in and play. Let's see if he can develop. When you draft Chase Brown, he comes in at running back 3. Let's see what he can do. We like him as a prospect. We think he can be a good player. We agreed with that. And then look what you get out of that. So you kind of just got to keep swinging at it with good swings, good lottery tickets, no matter where you're at, and then hope in a year, maybe it's right away, but hope in a year or 2, that guy becomes a good player for you because you believed in your process rather than just taking a position because you need it.
And there seems to be some inclination right now to start leaning on youth a little bit in terms of the defensive coordinator coaching search and getting the most out of the players that you have. And hopefully that leads to actually letting some of these guys develop, getting them on the field to develop. Because that was like one of the biggest problems, I think, with Lou, outside of his defense not having a floor, like Mike White versus Patrick Mahomes, right? Like he can elevate it, but the floor is like the core of the earth when it's bad. Like it's Mike White, man. Like that game is seared into my mind. And
great quote from someone is they can make Mahomes look like Mike White and they can make Mike White look like Mahomes.
Who said that?
This was I saw this on Twitter the other day and I thought, wow.
Luke can do it when he has the talent, but he has to be willing to get some of the young guys out there, I think, and get the young guys on the same page so they can contribute. And we didn't get that. The other thing I would say about the Bengals draft philosophy is like, stop reaching. This is a reach.
Samples, the Jackson Carmens.
Like Miles Murphy, we thought it was a reach. It wasn't a consensus reach. Josh Newton was a little bit early. That one worked out for him. Who are some of the other reaches? Like Charlie Jones, didn't we think that was?
We thought it was early for Charlie Jones.
Carter Volson, Robbins. Yeah. Those are miserable picks. Carmen,
even Tyson Anderson in the 5th, you're trading up and you're saying he's only a special teamer.
But like I wasn't opposed to the pick, so I'm not highlighting it. Deontay Smith, Shelvin. Size sample we're fine. I think we were
they're right around where we had them.
Okay. Trey Hill was a reach. Then you're using a 5th round pick on a kicker. People are gonna say that's why you draft a kicker.
The thing here is they do unforced errors when they're drafting. No one told you to take Jackson Carmen. You know what I mean? That did not have to happen. Nobody told you to take Drew Sample. That did not have to happen. And you may say, some people may say, well, Sample's still here, still a quality player, but you don't take that in round 2. That is 5th round and later type of career.
Yeah. So moral of the story, stop reaching. And maybe on their board, it's not a reach. Figure out what you're doing that's leading to this problem with evaluation.
That's what consensus is used for. You may see it as no value, but the value and I'm talking to the team, but the value in it is to say, whoa, we are way off what everyone else thinks.
I don't think they don't value it. I think they are doing their homework, but I wonder if this is one of the issues of having a small department where you're limited in terms of building a consensus board. Like, yeah, you can look at mocks and you can look at this and that, but like a lot of it is the connections that the scouts have with other scouts and it's information trade business. Right. And so when they're putting together their mock scenarios or what they think teams will do, they're tracking what other teams are doing. I'm sure to some degree, the way we track what they are doing. They're tracking other team needs. Like they're all these teams are trying to project the other teams, but you are limited a little bit when you only have 4 guys that have connections around the NFL versus having 10 guys. Maybe you have, 3 guys that have friends on the West Coast and the teams that are west of you, and 3 guys that have friends that are east of you or whatever. Like, not saying this is a big deal, but I think that speculatively, if there were more people involved with the Bengals draft operation, and the coaches are too, I get that. But for some teams, the coaches aren't involved at all. And so it is just front office to front office connections. So just one other piece that I don't think is thought of very often when you think about.
And that's why I'd remove it as much as possible. And that's something we do as outsiders is we don't shake Billy Price's hand and meet him and say, oh, this guy has really got it.
I mean, the other side of that is Jermaine Burton.
Put on the
but
tape.
yes, your point still stands.
The other side is Jermaine Burton, but from the reports you could read and go, "Whoa, this guy's a nut." And like, how do you just bypass that?
What do you think of this comment? I think the Gridiron grading guys do a great job. They take essentially Gridiron grading's process, as I understand it, is if you don't follow them, you can follow them on Twitter. Gridiron grading, a couple of Bengals fans that do some draft work. They're pretty much taking PFF scores and production scores, which we incorporate into our stuff. And then they use PFF scores, I believe, in addition to AV to determine those players' impact in the NFL. And obviously all these things are incomplete metrics, but you take it all together and you get a pretty good big picture.
Yeah. My comment is that I think they do a great job. I love anyone that wants to look at it as a process and say, how can I do this and get better at it? What are predictive values that we can use to predict the future? Because they also use tape grades. So
that comes from those are not self-assigned.
I thought they did.
I could be wrong. I thought those came from consensus.
Either way, a nice balance to any type of data is the eye test, because there are guys that you will watch and say, you know what, I like this guy. His data, his profile, whatever it is, it's okay. Irving. But man, put on the tape.
Bucky Irving.
Bucky Irving is a great example. The data said, don't even consider him. But the tape was like, this guy's fun. He makes guys miss. And that's what he did in the NFL.
Yeah, crazy how good Bucky Irving was as a rookie.
But it's also why he goes later than he probably
tells
should,
you,
right? I mean, so
it tells
there's a
you about
his
draft status, and then sometimes you win on those picks. So we got to the offensive line. We went on a big tangent. That's the value of these live streams. Wide receiver, I think we can get through pretty quickly here. I still think they need depth, regardless of what happens with T. I don't think that I'm using a premium resource on a receiver, but
would you spend a first rounder if they lose T?
Ask me when that happens.
It's a good wide receiver
when
class.
That happens. I'm not sure yet.
I agree, because I'm not projecting them to lose T right now. I think at the very least, a normal organization would tag him because that's worth it, and I think he's going to get probably more than that in year one money than what you would get on a tag if you let him walk, and even if you sign him. But if it happened, from what I understand, this is a strong first round wide receiver.
I think it's like an okay wide receiver class.
And the Bengals like receivers.
They do. I would hate it if they had to use a first round pick on a wide receiver because they let T walk. Is my initial reaction there. Like, you have wide receivers. Keep the good ones.
And when I say a normal team would do these things, I am aware. You don't have to tell me the Bengals aren't normal in the comments. That's my point.
Yeah, I think that my reaction there is much like Jesse Bates. Like, I hate the idea of having to use a premium resource to replace a premium player that you already have because you don't want to spend the money.
Unless I can trade him.
But even if you can trade him,
that's the only time.
Like, if you trade him for a player that you know is good, I feel better about that.
Right, trading for a first round pick for a coin flip.
Yeah, like,
is not worth it.
Depending on where the pick is, like, if you trade him for Travis Hunter, okay, I'll take that 10 out of 10 times. But if you're trading him for like pick 27, if you're trading for pick 23 to Green Bay, meh.
How do we feel about Andre Osivach? A lot of questions on him. Is he a wide receiver 4? Is he a wide receiver 3?
I think
the Bengals use Mike Gesicki and Chase Brown a lot in the receiving game. I'm not even sure if I know Yoshi played the snaps of wide receiver 3, but if you went down like the target list and options, right? Chase 1, Higgins 2. From there, it is muddy. And I think they could upgrade that spot. Maybe that's at tight end. Maybe that's a 4th round wide receiver drafted. Maybe it's a 4th round running back that can get into the mix and help out. But I do think there's a little bit still upside to Yoshi. Obviously, coming from a small school, has the athletic ability and the size. He's got some awkwardness to him at times, and I think even Joe has to correct him a bunch on things. But there is still some opportunity that he gets a little bit better. I think we can say this though now. I don't think he's a T replacement. I know we had some people in the fan base that had hopes that he could do that. I think at this point we could say wide receiver 4 to wide receiver 3 at the maximum. Definitely not wide receiver.
Yeah, we know, I think for sure that I would say he's like a below average wide receiver 3. Is that fair? I think it is. I think it is because of the drop problems, really. And because of the timing issues that we've seen from it. And this is why I have hope for him in the future. Like, this is why I have hope that he can develop, because the game is still fast for him. And if he can get the game to slow down for him, and what was it, Kansas City, they get into a 3rd down because he has a drop that would have been a 1st down on 2nd down, right? Where he doesn't get his head around and the ball's on him quicker than he expects it to be, and he can't get his hands on it. That happens to him a few times throughout the season. Yeah. But then I think I agree with Tizza. I'm calling you Tizza 88, in that he did have a strong end of the season. I thought that he became he still had the drop issues. He still had the same issues, but like he showed a little bit more.
He can make some contested
catchability, really the run after catchability when they get him on the run.
Yeah. Used more as like a speed slot, which I thought fit him better, which I was surprised to see it took that long. When they're running like option stuff with him from the wire, from the slot early in the year, I'm like, he doesn't look right. It doesn't look like he understands what he's doing there. But let him run away from guys. Yeah, I mean, that's what he can do. And now you're doing long crossers with him and stuff, and he's running away from guys with that speed and making a contested grab. I'm like, yeah, that's what Yoshi can do.
I think Yoshi has looked like an elite athlete, to answer this question. Maybe not elite, but like very good, at least. Like he does have the speed. The speed is there. The size is there.
He's a bit clunky in change of direction.
Yeah, and that's what I was about
to get
to.
Shows up after the catch.
Where I would use Yoshi is not in... Like, it's really none of the ways they use T or Jamar, which is kind of fine if they have those guys, but if they don't have those guys, it's problematic because he's not running digs the way either of those guys. Like, he's not a technician.
No,
I guess is what I'm getting at. Like, you don't want him on the timing routes, on the, I guess the quick outs. He's okay with, but like he's not very good over the middle with slants and with
daggers and digs.
Yeah, like basics, digs. Like that's not his bread and butter. And then the option route stuff as well, right? And so he has certainly some strengths. I think actually in like the comeback.
Is that Yoshi's dad, Flem? I didn't know. I saw this on Twitter and I was like, I don't mean to be mean to Yoshi. I think he's a quality player and he'll play for 10 years in the NFL.
Yeah.
Like there's nothing.
And he can get better. Like I still think there's upside there for sure. For sure.
And what was the game? It had to be the Panthers game, right? He's splitting the cover 2 down the middle. They hit him. He catches it, gets hit. And I'm like, yes, Yoshi's awesome. Got good size, good speed to stretch that. These are the things he can do. So he's going to make a lot of plays for 2 more years for the Bengals. We'll see what happens after that.
Yeah.
But you're not mad of having an Andre Iosivas as a depth player on your team. Every team.
No, I would try to extend him as soon as you can, to be honest, because he shouldn't cost you a ton. And then, like, if you want to draft a guy, like, so here's where we're talking about depth, right? Like, they have nothing behind those 3 guys.
Right. Because we don't know what Charlie Jones is still.
You can count on nothing from him. Isaiah Williams, they like as a returner, but I'm counting on zero offenses.
You can find Isaiah Williams every year as an undrafted guy.
Yep. And I'm counting on 0 snaps from Jermaine Burton. So they do need some receiving depth for sure, especially if they lose T. Then the wide receiver need really gets elevated.
It does.
But like, this is a year where they should be looking at signing one of those $3 million receivers. And also, like, the one kind of receiver they don't have on the team is the 5'10" Zay Flowers type. archetype. Not saying you can get a guy that moves like Zay Flowers.
The yak guy, too.
I mean, just somebody. I mean, Jamar's a yak guy. I would
But
say Andre
like a jitterbug yak, not a power yak, right? Like Jamar's a power
Jamar
yak.
has some of the Jamar's like a run away from you. Yeah, he's a freak.
Yeah.
Like the guy's a freak. You can kind of do all those things. But yeah, they don't have somebody who would specialize in that. Like I said, like the Zay Flowers mold of player. And the Zay Flowers mold of player being good in the NFL is quite rare.
It is. And he is good. I do like Zay.
But like Lab McConkey, certainly example of that, right? In the most
Khalil
recent
Shakir,
draft.
good. Yeah, that's a good example.
Go ahead. Who else we got?
Khalil Shakir, if you didn't hear me, I would love to have. That was a 5th round pick who our spreadsheet said, hey, take him. You know what I mean? He's going to be much better than where he's being drafted. That would be a great. If you could find one of those in the 5th round for the Bengals, huge.
Let's see who else we got here. Just looking at the list.
What are you looking at?
I'm just looking at PFF, just looking at production.
Wide receiver. Why don't you pull it up on the screen here? We're still looking at the depth chart.
That's a good idea.
Zoom in on it for us.
I'm just looking at names, really.
Yep. And where they're drafted, I think, is important.
That's crazy. Juwan Jennings is so good.
A lot of these guys are like good draft picks, other than Shakir being a 5th rounder. When we know Tyreek was late for his issues. These are premium picks.
Yeah, they
Darnell
sure
Mooney,
are.
I would take a Darnell Mooney if you can find that in the draft, especially where he was drafted.
All right, so maybe you have to spend a big pick.
I mean, Puka Nacua, but that seems extremely rare to get that level in the 5th round. I mean, they come.
Is this where I go for slot? Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
I mean, Jamar is going to continue to play a lot in the slot.
Big chunk of his production was in the slot, but we do need a guy that can go in there. Is Mooney, did he sign a 1-year deal with Atlanta? Because that would be an ideal replacement for T in a lot of ways, I think.
3 years.
Okay, then we'll forget it.
Here's our top slot targets. Nope. Show me slot targets only.
Yeah.
So Smith and Jigbo, he was a 1st-round pick, right?
Yep.
Josh Downs, here's a good example. This is the kind of
Josh Downs, we loved him on our spreadsheet as well.
Yeah, here's this.
That would be an ideal round
3rd rounder.
Was he 3rd? Perfect. Top of the 3rd?
3rd round, 80.
Yeah.
Wandale was overdrafted, but
yeah, and he's just now being okay.
Demario Douglas. This is an example of this kind of player that you can get late.
Liberty, 6th round. Yeah, that's a Yoshi. But he's graded better than Yoshi, actually.
I mean, Yoshi's killed in here for drops.
And because he runs a lot of routes and was rarely targeted.
Yeah. Jaden Reed, here's another example.
Jaden Reed would be a fun one to have. That's a yak guy that can play in the slot and outside.
I don't like it when PFF does this.
Yeah, like you almost have to restart.
Jaden Reed doesn't exist. I wasn't even spelling his name wrong?
No, it just won't load sometimes. You almost have to like reboot the system.
Okay. Well, not doing that. We're moving on. Anybody else here? Yeah. I mean, he's just awesome. I mean, he's not really like the shifty guy.
No, but
he's like
makes guys
he's like the tech. He's like the technician. Marvin Mims, great example there.
Marvin Mims would be fun. Yeah.
Even Greg Dortch. Don't watch Arizona very often. I don't know if he's
down now.
Okay.
Yeah,
PFF is just betraying us.
Yeah.
Jalen Naylor. How about that?
Now, if you can go back up for me and then sort it by percentage of targets. Yeah. This will give us a different. There's Mims at the top. Yeah. When he gets in the slot, you got a 1/3 chance the ball's going to him.
You got the power slots here.
Look at Brian Thomas. That's why he had such a big year, by the way, though, because that was not something we got to see when we were watching LSU film. Yeah. And then for him to get in there and get 30% of his targets while in the slot, that's pretty big. That's number 1 wide receiver stuff. That's how it happens.
Isn't Wicks another one of these guys?
Dontavian Wicks is a guy that also was a young breakout and came out as a junior, I want to say. He was one of the guys I actually was on I talked about this with subscribers. It was one of the names I gave to the Bengals, one of their coaches.
Tank Dell, man, tragic career he's having. Awesome player.
Yeah.
Anyway, Bengals could use a player like that, especially if T comes back. Then they'll have Jamar's do whatever the hell you want with him because he's awesome. He can do everything. You got T, who's vertical, slants, digs, comebacks, good at all those things.
Now,
Not
Jake,
really.
think about this, though.
Okay.
Imagine taking Brian Thomas if they had lost T last year. And you know what I'm saying? Like, would you take that to replace? I mean, that would be.
Yeah, but then you don't have a tackle.
No, I know.
Like it's a zero-sum game. Like, yeah, you got something there. You can save money at wide receiver for a few years, but now
spend
what are
it
you
on a
doing to
tackle if you can.
Who?
Spend that money on Trey Smith.
No, thank you.
Because he's not a great fit.
I don't see the fit for Trey Smith.
Right.
They might end up
Watch
signing
Trey
him,
Smith this year in the playoffs the next couple of weeks because we assume they'll get there. And the Texans don't really have a D tackle that I think can take advantage of them. But
I mean, we would have had Devin Cochran playing right tackle for 10 games.
Hey, Tizza makes a good point. Rosengarten, we had a high grade on him. And
I liked Rosengarten too.
Right. And you get him in round 2. He was there.
Oh, 262.
Second round, 62nd pick. If you would have went there, yeah. I mean, but again, hindsight, but we did have high grades on.
Rosengarten also would have been Jonah Williams 2.0.
You think it would have been worse for us?
Poor man's Jonah Williams. Yeah, I mean, I think that the job of a tackle in Baltimore's offense is infinitely easier than the job of a tackle in Cincinnati's offense.
No doubt.
Like,
no doubt.
Pass pro? Oh, God. Like, Rosengarten, nah. You can't sell me on that. I am fine and happy with Amarius Mims.
Pull up Rosengarten on PFF if you can get it to load.
Joe? You're really torturing me here.
Go by position, actually. Go by position. And then go to you can do this. Fine.
It's too late.
Offensive tackle pass blocking if we can. Because we just care about the pass blocking. Yeah, and then 2024. That's what I'm saying. I love doing this. Give me out 20% snaps if you can. We can weed out some of these guys. Minimum. Yeah, there we go.
I know, Joe.
I know you know I'm talking to the people, so they don't just think you're clicking randomly. I look at this a ton. How does each class, and I'll go back multiple years here and go, okay, what about 2023, 2022? Because I look at running backs hit the ground every single year as rookies. And if that's something you're like, hey, how can we boost this team, this current Bengals team? It's probably good content. What position should you draft if you want the most immediate impact for this year? Now, it doesn't mean they're going to be the greatest in 4 years, but if I wanted immediate impact as rookies, running backs would be one. Corners tend to play well as rookies.
Yeah.
Safeties, I want to say this year also. The last couple of years, you've gotten
safeties the last few years.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess only really high-end edge players, like top 10 edge players.
Wide receiver, good call. Cody.
I mean, top-end wide receivers. Top end.
First round wide receivers?
Like top 10 wide receivers.
Well, I mean, we just had Brian Thomas Jr. as an example. Is he an outlier? I actually don't know.
Yes.
T, top of the second round. Justin Jefferson, late in the first round.
They're outliers. It's not typical.
It is not typical, but I feel like it's higher percentage than if you were to say a tackle, like an offensive tackle or defensive tackle.
Yes, it is better than those two.
Those are low. So like the Bengals start the draft with that, right? In fact, they start 3 of the first 4 picks with that. The expectation was that this was a low impact rookie class right away.
Yeah, tight end too. Yeah. Yep. Here's your rookies, by the way. Rosengarten is second here. He also somehow maintains a good true pass block rate, but I still
sacks in true pass. That's 26.
I still think this is such a product of like
the quarterback.
Like, also, like the efficiency
is not great. Sort it by efficiency. Is that as bad as we think? Oh, there's some guys down there. Holy shit. Yeah. See, it's not a good rookie. As a rookie, you can't expect a lot from tackles.
Joel, Mims, Fuanga, Rosengarten. I wanted to look at the game by game stuff. Like, against good. But he held up here. TJ Watt was hurt. New York Giants have nobody. Philly has some good guys. No real power guys.
Make it tough on you. Chargers do, but he only
Khalil
made
Mack
26
isn't
snaps
really a power guy.
No, it should be Bosa on that side, though, right?
Is Bosa healthy now? Okay.
Pitt again. Cincinnati against the corpse.
So like way more good than bad, especially as the year went on.
Yeah.
But then like tough time against what's his name in Houston. And well, they have multiple guys in Houston.
And TJ Watt last week in the playoffs.
What are we saying about TJ Watt last week in the playoffs?
He got
5
him.
Pressures.
You
Watt
must have got him.
Yeah, he's been solid. I mean, I liked Rosengarten.
We did. Despite that Michigan game.
Yeah, I'm still happy with Mims. Yeah, I liked Rosengarten quite a bit, honestly. I remember.
Yeah.
But I think that offense makes life for tackle, like I said, infinitely easier than the offense in Cincinnati.
Delaroth, the thing with blanking TJ Watt, because you see, like, it's been like 4 weeks in a row, I thought it was, Watt ended the year with no tackles or sacks or anything like that.
Yeah, because he's a garbage ass player on a garbage ass team.
TJ Watt, what are you saying? He still wins a bunch. Even the Mims game.
Yeah, no, I'm just talking shit because he plays for the Steelers.
Fair. Go ahead then. I'm sorry for stopping.
No, that's it. That's all of it.
Well, that's why I did a film review on Mims the last time they played, and he played the whole game. So not the week 18 game, but whatever that was, a handful of weeks before that. Because on paper, it looked like Watt didn't do much, other than he had that forced fumble after Burrow broke the pocket. But watching the tape, you can see how often Watt wins, but he gets so much damn attention. Even Trey Hendrickson seems to get a lot of attention, but I think finally he gets a lot of attention. Not that we want that, but for sure.
So is that our wide receiver talk?
That is. And
what does this
I would
mean?
like to mention breakout age because they have avoided it now the last few years. And when we do go back to drafting a receiver, can we go back to getting a guy that has the upside of a number 1, number 2, and potentially low end number 3?
Yeah. I wonder what's changed there. I wonder if we'll have a chance to ask. Probably will.
I had a chance.
Go ahead.
They were unaware of it.
Unaware of breakout age.
They were unaware of what they were doing. They just knew they drafted good receivers and they liked them young, but they weren't able to.
They didn't piece that piece of the puzzle.
What's the word when you make it a number?
Metric?
Yeah, they didn't formulate it into a metric or understand that it could be turned into a number.
What's it going to take to get Jake to drop an F-bomb? I'm not. I'm allowed to say whatever I want on here, man.
Yeah, we're good.
There's nobody
telling me.
Quantify
it. Thank you. Yeah, they didn't know how to quantify it. They knew they liked young receivers. Like that was a definite 100% thing. Like young.
But they didn't understand that it was like not actually simply their age when they drafted them, but
right.
Young
producers. They knew they liked young producers, but they understanding a percentage of the total offense and output of the offense being a number that you can quantify, that had to be explained.
Yeah. All right. Good closing thought there on wide receiver.
The only other one is running back, and what they could do there is Zach Moss, a cut, neck injury. We don't know really.
Likely.
It's easy money to get back and recoup and find a better solution. I mean, that's a throw a dart. I hope Joe Mixon goes for 300 yards and 5 touchdowns tomorrow. But one of my arguments was you could throw a dart at a day 3 guy and replace that production. And well, they did. You could throw a dart at a day 3 guy and easily replace the Zach Moss production. Much easier than it is to replace Joe Mixon. Bengals got a little lucky there, but you can do it again and you could replace that fairly simply.
So you're not on team draft Ashton Genty?
I am not. Now I am on team. Now I can let me switch this and change my take if they go balls to the wall in free agency, right? if they go crazy in free agency and I'm like, you know what? You add a top 5 running back to your team. We just talked about what type of impact could you have? How could the rookie class really like propel you to getting back to where you need to be? Yeah, he's a type of player that could do that. And if they fill their needs in free agency and you say, you know what? Genty would take this offense to new heights, man, with a new O-line coach, run game coordinator, then I could be sold.
My biggest challenge with the first round running back is I think Chase Brown's good.
I do too.
Like he took the leap. He can pass block. He took the leap as a receiver.
Yep.
The only issue with him is that he sometimes doesn't see as a runner.
And sometimes fumbles. I mean,
what do you have? One? Do you have one? Two fumbles this year?
Two, and he lost one. Which is fine.
I did say more than I wanted to say, not to pat myself on the back or anything, but the biggest thing they would lose with Joe Mixon is ball security.
100%. He's one of the best of all time.
People asking about our thoughts on Khalil Herbert. I'm fine if Herbert is back to be your third running back.
Yep.
I think that he got crossed up in protection a couple of times in limited snaps, and he's just kind of fine. Like, you can tell that you're taking a big step down with Herbert compared to Moss. Or sorry, Herbert compared to Brown.
Everyone looks slow compared to Brown, though. I don't care who they put in there.
But like the way they finish runs,
yes,
the transition to a runner as a receiver, there are a number of plays like that where you could tell that the difference it was there. But I think he's good. I think he's solid. Like, I'd be fine with him being in a RB2A, 2B, or RB3 spot. For the Bengals,
RB3.
But
he's an RB3 that they haven't addressed in so long. They've held on to Travion Williams, even Chris Evans. That was the 3 and 4 going into this year. That is insane.
Yeah, those guys should not be on 53-man rosters. No offense intended there. Travion Williams in particular seems like an awesome guy. Like, reminds me of I don't think he's going to go be a chaplain or whatever. Reminds me of Vinny Ray in some ways.
Cedric Bierman even made a career.
Yeah.
Being a cool guy on special teams, but that's practice squad RB4.
Yeah. And they need to get better at RB2. So I want, if they keep Herbert, fine, but like, get a couple other guys there that could be actual players for you. Like Kendall Milton. I mean, sure, you're going to have him in camp next year. Let's see what happens. But like, get another piece in the running back room. Not a high investment piece.
The hard part is you only have 6 picks, right?
Yeah. I mean, it might be I have no idea who free agent running backs are.
I haven't looked at it either, actually. Because it's got to be someone cheap. You don't want to spend at that spot if you can avoid it. So we've got the spreadsheet here if you're just joining us, and it's going to have all of this. Oh, yeah. Zoom in a couple times for us. Yeah. Stay away from Najee Harris, please. I don't want to spend money. But that seems like a Bengals signing.
Jalen Warren is restricted free agent. This what happened here? These are I assume just not supposed to have a decimal in front of them.
I would assume so as well.
Jalen Warren, man,
yeah,
restricted. Not going to make it to free agency.
They'll probably put a 2nd-round tender on him, right?
Ty Johnson, does he run the ball at all?
He's basically just a receiver for them. No.
Yeah. Okay.
He's a really good receiver though, and athletic.
Is Kenny Gainwell still like not playing essentially?
No, I remember seeing Gainwell touch the ball this year, but I don't know how often.
Not great.
No, it's not great.
Like, Rico Dowdle is going to make some money.
Yeah, Rico Dowdle's decent.
He played 634 snaps. Like, he's going to make some money.
Yeah. And he was high in success rate. I think he was top 8.
I would assume Dobbins is going to make some money too.
Probably.
So, like, you're talking about probably these two guys.
Is there anyone down here that's a sneak?
I mean, nobody that's really played. Like, Jermichael Hasty again.
Yeah, I don't see
Jeff Wilson. Like,
yeah.
Nobody, no RB2 types. Like, I think these two guys are your RB2 types.
Tizzo said, I would love Warren. I would love Warren and Chase Brown, and I would be absolutely happy with that if you could stumble into those two type.
Warren is going to be a Pittsburgh Steeler next year.
No doubt. He's restricted. I'm just saying if that was a way to do it.
He's going to get as high of a tender as they could put on him, I think. If he doesn't, then you consider it. Not great at running back, though.
Yeah.
So
not a lot of options. We'll have to see who gets cut. There might be some cut candidate guys.
There will almost certainly be some cut candidates. And Over the Cap does this. Yeah, it's pretty cool. They just did their whole possible cut candidates. Nick Cordy.
You can, there you go. You can sort it.
One running back. Nice.
Miles Sanders. That's it. Just one running back. All right. So maybe there's not a lot of running backs.
Yikes.
How about Aaron Jones? Aaron Jones had a good year. I wouldn't be surprised if he got a decent deal that makes
Kyle Juszczyk.
Do you want to spend $7.5 million on Aaron Jones? I don't think I do.
No. Yikes. All right. That's the offense. It's 11:21 on the East Coast. Our viewer number is quite steady.
You guys are hanging out with us then, huh?
Thanks for hanging out. We got 73 YouTubers and 58 Twitchers. Let's see if I missed anything important on Twitch. Got a first-time chat. Love when Jake talks shit. First-time chat was fun fact. Andre Yosevach's dad, not a fan of Goodberry.
Yeah.
It's a fun first-time chat.
He said he hopes he never does an interview with me.
Nice.
Yeah.
Doing a lot of player interviews?
No, I don't do those.
All right. Well, let's talk about this defense.
We should. Yep. Because it's open for business other than Trey Hendrickson, I think.
Yeah. He gone.
Mm-hmm. We'll see.
50-50. I think he's back.
I do too, because he should be cheap. Game sample should be cheap. Zoom in a couple times for us.
More?
Yeah. I'm 38 now, Jake.
You got the glasses though, man. They're supposed to correct.
There's actually no lenses in here at all. This is just for they were sunglasses that I got from Bengal Gym. Yeah. And the one lens popped out, and I said, I'm going to use these for when I have to read numbers and letters. My eyes are fine.
Okay. Sounds like they're not. Chris Jenkins, who knows? McKinley Jackson, who knows? Jay Tufele is gone. Isaiah Thomas is not a real thing. Who knows? Who knows? Hey, he's really good.
Super good.
All right. So we need 3 defensive tackles and 2-3 edge rushers.
Yeah. I actually don't know how to tackle the defensive tackle, no pun intended there, because
such a huge need.
It's a huge need. You're going to need some veterans because you don't have D tackle 1 or D tackle 2 on the roster. I would take one in the first round. I think they need a high upside guy. I'm not even sure they have a D tackle 1 capable prospect on the roster. So if there's one there, I would take it. There are a couple guys in free agency, though, at the top that I would love the Bengals to go spend on. Thinking Milton Williams and Osa Odigizua. Both guys are young.
I'm going to be right here with you on these two.
You are? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. They're not
tier 1. Milton's not quite good enough to be a 1, and Osa's not quite good enough to be a 1.5.
They don't have the traditional production. Like if you look at it and you see 4.5 sacks, that's like, okay, am I going to spend $20 million a year for those guys? But they win. They're athletes. They get pressure. I think the upside is still there for Milton Williams. I think Osa Odigizua has been. I would take Osa, no doubt. He's been quality for 4 straight years.
The thing about Osa or Milton 1, I mean, you're getting pretty much just a 3-tech, right?
What tier was DJ Reader last year? Do you remember?
Oh, last year?
Because we had him as a tier 1 when he was originally a free agent.
Let me see if I can find last year's sheet. 2024 free agent sheet. Still quite high.
Too.
And he did not live up to that.
No, the injuries were a thing.
He got hurt again, didn't he?
The Bengals were justified. Well, they had him on a pitch count even when he played.
Didn't he get hurt again?
He missed games in the middle of the season, I think.
I thought he got hurt. Like has he been playing lately?
Check. I'm
looking.
PFF will show you snap counts.
He did not play. Or did they have the bye?
They had a bye. Yeah.
Okay. So he been
been
playing lately. Yeah. He's been solid.
Yeah.
Probably James was the most correct here.
At a 2.5.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where were we on Rankins? 3? Rankins was a disappointment.
Yeah. He should have been a 3. We didn't even get that from him. We got a 5 from him.
All too high on Von Bell.
What do we have him as?
3.5.
Wow. Yeah, I got him as a
Too
5
low
now.
on Gesicki.
Mhm.
I was the most right on Trenton Irwin. Very good job, me. James was probably the most right on Hudson.
Everyone a 5 on Cody Ford.
I think I was lower than a 5, but I went and changed it to a 5.
Great time signing DJ Reader. Yeah, that was. That's when Jake and I were still doing the show together, and we were like, they're just not going to get a tier 1 guy. And then DJ Reader was like, all right.
Yeah, it's the only tier 1 guy they've signed in the last Joe Burrow years.
But Osa and Milton, I wouldn't be surprised if they got $25 million first year money, right? What does this say? We got that guaranteed even more. Yikes.
Yeah, they're not touching these guaranteed numbers.
Yeah, the Bengals won't be in on those guys unless they
if
break
those
their
are the
structure.
guaranteed numbers, yeah, they're not doing it, which means they're just fucked. Frankly, like they're just not going to be good.
Like, let me go watch Bobby Brown, 25 years old,
ranked as the 100th best free agent by NFL Trade Rumors. I guess is what this means.
Yeah.
What is this?
What are you looking
What
at?
what is Neil ingesting?
The Devi. I don't know what the Devi is.
That even is.
Never heard of the Devi.
Like, I'm not like the Bengals are not going to touch Jarn Reed.
No, too old. We can almost eliminate those guys. That's why they're red.
Calais Campbell again, like would do a year. He probably won't be one they're interested in. Hargrave, I think that ship has sailed. And then you got a bunch of just like whatever guys down here.
Yeah, maybe you get a decent, but you're still probably spend too much on Levi Onwuzurike too, right? Like you're still, what's he?
Onwuzurike is not projected to get a ton of money.
Okay,
I would do this for Onwuzurike.
Yeah, that might be your best 2-year. He's a defensive tackle. I mean, that's Larry Ogunjobi type signing. And
that wouldn't be surprising if he wanted a 1-year prove-it deal.
Sure.
But you're not getting any foundational pieces here for like the next 3 years. You're not getting a DJ Reed or BJ Hill pairing. And how instrumental, man? How instrumental was that to their run, having those guys?
Ogunjobi and BJ Hill or Reader and Hill?
Reader and Hill.
Yeah, Reader and Hill.
Just like good, solid defensive tackle.
Right. You trade for one, you sign one. I mean, we need those Bengals.
Did you freeze? No.
That was me pausing for dramatic effect.
Yeah. Yeah. We sure do. Free agent class in general isn't great though. So, but yeah, that BJ Hill trade. Where are we on that being the best trade in Bengals history? Yes. Very close. Reggie Nelson.
There's a lot of they've actually had decent trades.
Carson Palmer for 2 picks. On the edge front.
Right. Would you rather go spend at edge?
Kuntz is a very interesting one.
Chase Young's production, his win rate was really good this year, but it was at right end. So he's played left and right before. This year was right, and he was really good.
Where did he play in college? Do you remember?
Ohio State.
Yeah. Where did he
play? Where did he play in college? He played from the Ohio State, Jake. Come on.
Yeah.
But
which side do you play on?
I don't remember. I can pull it up.
Not a great edge class or edge free agent group is my just here. They're probably going to go after Azeez Ojulari, right? And then they're going to pay him too much, and then I'm going to be disappointed.
He is Joseph Osai, so
yeah, that'd be a classic. That'd be a classic. We paid a guy who was good against us, like they did with Rankins. Good draft class at edge, though.
Chase Young was perfectly split between left and right.
All right.
In college, and he's done that in the NFL, so he can do both. He would be the guy I would go for.
Is he going to be like Jadeveon Clowney for his career and just do a bunch of 1-year deals for the rest of his life?
I can see that. Yeah. Baron Browning is a quality, like, don't have to give him a lot, and he's had production. He's a bit small for what they like. We'll have to see what the defensive coordinator, who that is. But
that's another thing that we could talk about that we would like them to change, though, is be willing to draft a guy who is not Michael Johnson at defensive end.
Nolan Smith. Nolan Smith's good.
Yeah, and apply that to the future, too.
Yeah.
Good edge class. In the draft.
I would take Khalil Mack. I know the Bengals may not at 34.5, but they should be signing Calais Campbell and Khalil Mack. 1-year deals.
I mean, keep talking.
Okay. 1-year deals for both those guys, I think makes a ton of sense. But the Bengals need to start operating a little bit differently. And that's one of the ones that I could see.
What's Mac? Like, you're not doing 2 years for Mac, though.
No, it's a 1 year. And because he's already talking about retiring. So I won't be surprised if he got a 1-year deal wherever he goes.
My reservation with Mac is only that then you have 2 edge guys that really can't defend the run.
Yes. Other guys, though, like Clavon Chason finally had like 6 sacks this year. And if Patrick Graham comes over.
Yeah. Do you have any feel on that, by the way? Everyone seems to assume it's Al Golden.
I think they'd like it to be Golden. I also could see them doing Golden a solid and making this known so that Golden gets a nice raise again.
Interesting theory. There is legitimate backing for Patrick Graham.
Right. That's what made me think of this other half is that, like, Golden's getting decent money now. I'm sure he's got a buyout. I'm sure he was a 4-year, $9 million deal that he signed with Notre Dame. Like, that's expensive if the Bengals want to get him.
2.5 this year, 2.7 next year.
Yeah.
Or sorry, 2.5 next year, 2.7 the year after.
Now, I don't know what's guaranteed if he keeps some of that if he takes a job in the NFL, but
I doubt it.
That happens at times.
I would be so. I mean, the Bengals were paying Notre Dame then. There's probably a buyout either way that the Bengals are paying, which is why I was surprised to hear that they would be interested in the first place. Because I mean, he's probably one of the most expensive candidates.
No doubt.
They can go for
about it. And if they do, that's a good sign for them. That's a positive thing in that regard. I wish they would have.
It's such a mixed bag because they talked to 3 candidates, right, if that's the case, and he's a retread. He's a guy that's been in the building.
Here's my fear that I haven't talked about yet. I hope they didn't get turned down a bunch of times again.
I would be surprised, man.
I would be too, but they did last time, and then they were in a rough shape last time. I get that. And Zach didn't have any skins on the wall, where he should at least have some now.
It would be a different reason. It would be because
he could be
because they think Zach's got 1 year.
Yeah.
But I can't imagine if you're an up and comer turning the Bengals down for that reason.
Agreed. Like if you're Jim Leonard, there's no reason you should be turning that down.
Yeah, I would be surprised. Maybe we'll find out later.
Maybe we will.
So pretty tough edge rusher group, I think. But there are some guys if they're willing to pay. Or sorry, pretty tough interior group, but they have options on the edge, I think. And Kuntz is like a big injury risk, but he was good the last time he played.
For sure.
Chase Young is kind of a bit of a mystery in some ways. And like what version of Chase Young are you going to get?
David Clowney is a great example.
But I feel like Clowney was like better throughout his rookie deal.
Clowney was, what people didn't understand about him is he was very good against the run, willing to bash his head into a wall. And that you did not ever get that from Chase Young. He has picked and chose his spots throughout his career so far.
Yeah. So I think they're picking an edge rusher in the draft.
It's a strong edge class.
It's a strong edge class. Would love to see them dip into it. And there's like many different types of edge rusher in this class. It'll be very interesting. But they, as pointed out by Messiah here, they that's a funny Messiah, like the religious. Anyway, they got Trey right.
No doubt.
And they hit that one. So if they can find the next up and comer like that.
Can we use Trey and give the Bengals a lesson and say draft a Trey Hendrickson? And that may sound simple, but here's what I'm saying. An elite athlete with elite college production.
Mm-hmm.
And you can get him in the 3rd round. It happens once in a while, but probably 2nd. Most of those guys go in the 1st round. Like say James Pierce this year. If he's a first-round pick, he's still there at 17 out of Tennessee. Elite win rate in college. And if he's an elite athlete, we test that way. Feel free to do it. The Bengals haven't been doing that. I thought about this recently watching the Eagles game playoffs. They had Jason Kelce, maybe the best center of this generation, right? What were his traits? Very quick, agile, could get out in space, could out and pull, could get to the second level, freak athlete, smaller guy. Who did they draft? They looked at it and said, here's our formula for the guy. Hey, Cam Jurgens kind of looks like that, doesn't he? Like Cam Jurgens, it coming out was everyone's like, he could be a Jason Kelce type of guy. Eagles draft him, let him marinate for a couple of years, slide him right in. Cam Jurgens instantly good. The Bengals could not do that with Geno Atkins, right? They had Geno Atkins in the house. Sometimes you get lucky, you get the guy in the 4th round, he's great. Let's try and replicate a Geno Atkins, an elite athlete, elite production in college.
Instead, they do the exact opposite every time they have a chance to draft a player like that.
Every D-tack, right? They pass on Grady Jarrett. There was so many guys. I had Javon Hargrave. I've over the years give them Milton Williams, so many guys you could have tried to recreate this with. Instead, it's Marcus Hardison that played D-end. It's Zach Carter that played D-end. It's the Tyler Shelvin picks, and it's like, what are you guys? Why don't you see the recipe and try to recreate it? With Trey Hendrickson, high pass rush win rate, production, elite athlete. If the tape's good, pull the trigger. Let's stop messing around with these Miles Murphy types and that didn't have the pass rush win rate. Even Sam Hubbard. Yeah, in the 3rd round, fine. In the 1st round for Miles Murphy, that's so risky and dangerous.
Production and athleticism for 1st-round picks, especially in the trenches. Yes, like that's a very easy formula that I think is pretty tried and true. Like the 3-cone or whatever it is for offensive tackles. Short shuttle, 3-cone. Short shuttle. Right? Isn't that the
3-cone?
Is it 3-cone?
Yeah, short shuttle for receivers, slot guys especially.
I had another point that I was going to make, and it's gone. So we'll move on.
Okay. The question was brought up how much they had the Trey move correct over retaining Carl Lawson.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that would jog your memory on there. They also,
they're just really
they
bad
paid Chief and Mike Hilton instead of William Jackson.
Yeah, no, none of those. They're just really bad at drafting in the trenches.
No doubt. And that's why they don't have a Super Bowl ring right now. And it's why they're in the situation they're in.
And it's so weird because they weren't bad at drafting in the trenches.
At either. Right. At one point, it was Michael Johnson, Carlos Dunlap, Geno Atkins as young guys, and an O-line, but felt like they couldn't miss in the O-line.
Yeah.
Other than center.
And then they started missing every single pick in the trenches. It's crazy.
It is.
It's like, it's a 10-year, it's a decade long of success and a decade of misery. Linebacker. Jermaine Pratt does not think he's getting cut.
I think there's a good chance. I don't think it's automatic. I thought Denner was kind of high at 80%.
Yeah, I don't think there's a sure thing there either. Al Golden has coached Jermaine Pratt a lot.
Yeah, that could be helpful.
Was his positional coach. That could lead to the return of Pratt. Davis Gaither, hard to see a huge market for him. He was okay when he played for Logan Wilson, but
good on special teams. Worth it for that.
Significant step down when Logan Wilson was on the field. Shaka Hayward.
I'd like to see more.
Muan Jong Meta. I think those guys are around next year. Both. If they need a starter, though, depending on who the DC, like Patrick Graham, I think they're getting a new starting linebacker. Al Golden, less sure what direction they go.
And I've come to this conclusion. We talked about when we were doing when we were doing Lockdown together. These are early days and conversations about paying running backs, paying linebackers, very similar. The two seemed linked on, seemed the conversation was very similar to opposite ends of the ball. But after they paid Logan Wilson and Jermaine Pratt, they actually didn't pay them a lot. When you go look at it, the numbers aren't crazy. That's why if Pratt was making $8, $9 million, $10 million, I'd be like, okay, but the cash isn't too bad. The contract isn't too bad. And the conclusion I've come to, though, is very similar to running back. Linebacker is a young man's game. If you want them to be physical, if you want them to be downhill, you either have a special one or you keep churning guys that are fighting for NFL contracts.
Yep.
And that's probably the best way to handle it.
With a few scarce exceptions, like Levante David.
That's
Fred Warner, I think,
and
will
Levante is never
will
a
age
downhill
pretty well.
guy, and I think they're missing that a little bit.
I mean, Levante can do it all.
He's great. He's Ring of Honor for them.
One of the best to do it.
That's a draft Twitter original, Levante David.
Oh yeah.
Fred
Warner, I think, will age pretty well as well.
Yep. Elite athletes, also, both guys.
Yeah, but like a lot of these big linebacker contracts, you really cringe.
They're not good.
Like even Roquan. I know
Roquan was terrible this year.
Pro Bowler again this year, which is fucking crazy. Wasn't he an All-Pro too?
Yes.
Yeah, that's fucking crazy. But Fred Warner is still awesome.
Look at that list. This list
but
sucks.
Like this is a bad list. Like Edmonds, terrible contract. Milano hurt. Queen, terrible contract. JOK hurt.
Yep.
Al Shire, I have no idea.
Nut. He's a nut, and he gets suspended after hitting. After hitting Trevor Lawrence. He's a good player. He's just low pedigree.
Oh yeah, that's right. It's Trevor Lawrence thing. No idea about Zaire Franklin or Olakun.
Yeah, he's a solid player, but worth that money? No.
I mean, I'm sorry, I don't watch the Colts, Jaguars, or Giants or Dolphins.
Your boy Bobby Okereke.
Yeah, was he good?
Solid player, but no, not worth $30
million. Solid player, but like, I'm fine with this. I think for Logan.
So yeah, when you get down to this, Logan Wilson, the only issue with Logan Wilson this year that was different from previous years, because I think he had a good year. People, I think, missed his plays on the ball. He didn't have any this year, and that's really what separated him and made him good to being an average starting linebacker this year.
I feel like the defense was also just like more all over the place when he wasn't on the field.
So how far down are you getting to Jermaine Pratt? Hey, look at Blake Cashman up there, who's actually a very good player.
Yeah, also Drew Tranquil has turned into a good player for the Chiefs, is why I had him highlighted. But then you're talking about like a bunch of $6 million linebackers. And like that's where Jermaine Pratt is, but like there's a bunch of like TJ Edwards I'd rather have.
Mm-hmm.
Bobby Wagner even still I'd rather have. Drew Tranquil I'd rather have.
Tyrell Dodson, just a couple spots down with the Dolphins, was just cut by the Seahawks and picked up by the Dolphins. Like these guys get cut.
I don't know about some of these other guys. Cole Holcomb making $6 million seems crazy. Anzalone is awesome.
And Cole Holcomb probably gets cut, right?
I would assume. Jules probably getting overpaid just looking at the team he plays for.
Zach Bond. What
a deal.
Yes.
I mean, the Eagles.
Can we get that? Can we just talk about the Eagles? Like everything they do. And they have their misses, no doubt about it. Every team does. But they take so many quality swings. Like Zach Bond, the Bengals should be on this. The Bengals should be on former premium guys in free agency that they can get for cheap and just see what happens.
I mean, they've done it. It's not like this foreign concept to them.
No, they've made trades. They've made free agent signings. They've made late round picks, high picks, trade up for picks. Their roster is completely filled with people they have actively acquired and not just, we picked fifth. There we found Jamar Chase.
Yep.
Jake Elliott.
Becton, Landon Dickerson, or not Landon Dickerson, sorry. Saquon Barkley, guys that they went out and got in free agency. I don't know if Bradbury was a success for them for some amount of time. And then they're so good at early extensions. They also are so good at pushing cap hits out into the future.
Everything they do.
Like it looks like they're in bad shape, but they're going to be able to restructure more contracts. Surely. Let's see where are their restructurable contracts.
They're also in the Super Bowl window, in the playoffs again, and packing the roster. So, I mean, I don't care if they're in bad shape. We just saw this with the Rams. The Rams have been back. It took 1 year and they're back.
Well, because if you draft well.
Right. You get Puka Nacua, Kyron Williams, Kobe Turner, Jared Verse.
Yep.
Braden Fisk. Like if you just swap draft picks with the drafts with the Rams and the Bengals are in the playoffs too.
Mm-hmm. And then, I mean, drafting well is so huge. The Eagles are so good at it, like the Ravens are, finding the good players that fall to them.
They trade though also. Like they trade and go get those guys.
They move around a lot.
Quinion Mitchell, Cooper DeJean. If the Bengals draft those guys as well, they're in great shape on defense. You think of that secondary much differently.
Yeah. They don't have a ton of restructurables for next year, which I find interesting.
Yeah, they'll be tight. But
they'll have to extend some guys perhaps. But like all these guys are already restructured. So Philly, the thing that ends up happening to Philly, Josh Sweat. Just a big old void hit, huh? So maybe is he still on the team? They might try to extend him to spread this out.
Right.
Because that's what's going to happen eventually with Watson.
But that's why they won't keep Milton Williams. That's why a guy like that's 26 will hit free agency. And that's
they end up losing some good players, but they have so many good players.
And that's why you target those guys, though. Also, if you're ever wondering, sometimes teams use the idea that, hey, this guy's hitting free agency, must not be that good. A team like the Eagles, though, that is deep, that have to worry about their cap now because they've made multiple runs at this thing, like that's an ideal guy to go target.
Depends on where they're coming from, right? Like if it's an offensive lineman that is leaving New England, no thank you.
Right.
Back in the day. If it's an offensive lineman that's leaving Philly, not as many examples of this, but probably no thank you. I think that's the best offensive line coach in the league right now.
Oh, yeah.
So there's some stuff like that where it's like if they're leaving an elite coach who's known for player development, getting the most out of guys, or like it's a very scheme-friendly thing, then probably not. But then sometimes it's just good players that good teams can't keep because they have too many good players, and Philly is certainly one of those.
Yeah. Philly's just well run. A lot of comments here. People agree, obviously. But even picking up Mekhi Becton, we didn't talk about that. We talked about him briefly, but like when you're just going over the roster, like premium guys, Zach Bond, Mekhi Becton, I want to take those swings.
Mm-hmm.
I want to say this guy was a top 40 pick, even up to round 2. This guy has had his issues. I'm getting him for 1 year for $3 million. That is worth it. That's how you find a decent player. And they nailed it. Zach Bond was so damn good this year. Mm-hmm. It's crazy. Like, I want to know where that linebacker coach, like, is he getting interviews for defensive coordinator? Because if you can do that.
I think the DB coach from Philly is seen as a DC candidate.
He should. He just got 2 rookies to come in and play instantly good. Now, they were good prospects. We had high grades on those, Jake, if you look back.
Oh, yeah.
For those guys to both step in and play like they did, no surprise at all for us. But to identify it, get both of them, start both of them, play both of them, and get the production you got to do that part. Someone asked earlier, is it the Bengals drafting bad players or are they not developing? Of course, each situation is going to be different. Probably the answer is yes for both of those. But they haven't taken as good of swings as the Eagles have. And the Eagles have pretty much consistently drafted after Cincinnati, and they're taking good swings.
Yeah. Plus, they've had where did they get? They've had some really high picks on defensive linemen too, right? Like Jalen Carter.
If you go to put in their draft history on Pro Football Reference, it will say also if they traded up. And I think that will give us an idea of how often they trade. Because I want to say, if I remember correctly, they have traded a ton for their. Does it say they trade? I don't think this one does.
No.
Can't remember what.
But they did have these couple of high picks here to get Jordan Davis and Jalen Carter. And Jalen Carter is one of the best players in the league.
Because they traded up for DeJean. They traded up for Jalen Carter.
Yeah, they just draft well. I mean, even when they don't have picks.
Traded for A.J. Brown, right? They didn't have picks there.
And they acquire picks well.
Monta Smith, Landon Dickerson, Milton Williams. Because those are the same. They were mirroring us that year, right? We went Jamar Chase, Jackson Carman, Joseph Osai.
Mm-hmm. Traded back here, right?
Yeah, we traded back after they took Dickerson.
Yeah, the Bengals, I think, did like Dickerson.
Yes.
But, I mean, you just pick Christian Barmore.
Just take Barmore and stop messing around.
Yeah, what are you doing? Christian Barmore is best defensive tackle in the draft.
Yep.
Anyway.
No doubt.
We'll be regretting that.
We had Barmore with an 85, Milton Williams with an 82, I want to say, and everyone else was so far under. Was not a good D-tackle class.
Yeah.
Although Osa was like a 76 or 77 for us. He was mixed in there.
Yeah. I didn't realize that he graded well. I had not heard of him before this year.
He wasn't sub 73 at all. We had a decent grade on him. It wasn't Matabike with an 80 like we had, but it was solid.
All right. Let's talk about the secondary.
Yep.
Need a linebacker, maybe.
Probably a rookie.
It's a takeaway there.
Like a second-round linebacker, I wouldn't be against if it's the right guy. I'm just throwing, arbitrary evaluations there.
Yeah. Depends on how they get there. But yeah. We talked about McKinley Jackson earlier in the video, Brandon. You can go back. I mean, we didn't talk about him much. He came on a little bit at the end of the year. He's only playing like 20 snaps a game still. He's probably still a rotational piece. I still don't know if he's really a nose tackle, but he took some strides in that department as well, like actually standing up to double teams a little bit late in the year. So
no doubt.
Hopefully
His
that's not
timing
just
and vision definitely got better.
Yeah, hopefully that's not just like a fluke against some less good teams, but
because even Zach Carter finished his rookie year strong too, or stronger.
Yeah. So I mean, the start of next year is going to be big for those defensive tackles. Chris Jenkins, man, does he have a long way to go?
He does. You typically don't have a 40s grade at D tackle and then end up being a good player, but defensive tackle grading at PFF is weird.
Yeah. But I mean, it was obvious with Chris Jenkins at times. Like
he was getting
he had some flash plays that were nice, but there sure was a lot of why is Chris Jenkins 6 yards downfield?
And he suffered two different injuries, right? One to start the year, one to end the year. And this is a guy that's 300 pounds that is a run defender. Weird mix. I mean, those guys tend to get chewed up a little bit.
He's built like a 3-tech, but
plays like a nose.
Doesn't play like a 3-tech. Yeah. Doesn't play like a nose either.
In his mind, I feel like he wants to stand up to these guys and then ends up getting absolutely rolled over.
Yeah. I mean, part of that is where he's being aligned and what they're asking him to do too.
True.
Anyway, secondary.
Yep.
I mean, this whole defense is just such a can of worms, man. Can of worms. Like Cam Taylor, Britt, Dax Hill, and DJ Turner.
Unanswered questions.
Yeah, I mean, these are guys that are going to be in the mix to start next year, but you don't really know what you have there. I don't know if any of these safeties are. I mean, Jordan Battle's going to be on the roster. Yeah. Tyson Anderson's going to be on the roster. I don't know if they have I don't know if their starting safeties are on the roster.
That's one where Battle should have been better, right? And there's so many things back and forth between stuff. He didn't respond well to what sounds like Von Bell being signed, but at the same time, Von Bell shouldn't have been handed a starting job either. You should have the opportunity to develop Battle should have trumped the comfort they had with Von Bell, and that's a coaching thing, and one of the reasons also why I believe Lou is out the door.
Yep.
Because you may have based on his rookie production, you may have stole and found a gem in round 3 with Jordan Battle, and you flushed it down the toilet for a team that can't afford to do that.
Yeah.
That's bad. So now I hope he's salvageable.
Yeah, you hope he's a starter next year.
Yeah.
Are you counting on him to be the starter next year? I don't know. I mean, you might have to, because you just can't do everything. You might just say, okay, we're going to roll with these safeties again. It's possible. I don't think Geno Stone is 100% gone.
I don't either.
I think that, I think that I've seen 50-50, maybe 60% for him in some places. I think that's probably about right. I think it depends on the DC they bring in. I think that he was best in Baltimore when he was the third safety.
Yeah.
So they
put him at free way too often this year. If you look at his splits
at like single
high free. Like that's not, he doesn't have the range for that. He's never a great athlete.
No.
It was an odd ask of them, but they were so bad against the run that they felt like they needed to get an extra guy in the box. I get it, but it aired out the corners. He's not a center fielder. And he was not a center fielder. It was not a good look for the entire D.
And when this defense has been at its best, they've had one of the best center fielders in the game. And a nose tackle who would allow you to go light in the box. So, I mean, we've talked about these.
They had force multiplier players, 2 of them.
A lot, yeah. They need to find that. I don't know how the corner room shakes out. Josh Newton is a great depth find. I don't think Marco Wilson needs to be back. He played a lot late in the year. But you probably still need. I wouldn't be opposed to drafting a corner in the first 3 rounds.
If there's another Quinion Mitchell and he's got like an 84 grade for us on our spreadsheet and he's there at 17, I'm not against it.
I wouldn't be opposed to drafting a safety either.
Right.
If he is a deep safety type. And there are some of those. Like Malachi Starks, I'm probably going to be on board with if he's their first round pick.
Yeah.
Not knowing specifics about him yet, but the idea of a safety who is sound in coverage, can kind of do everything kind of piece.
Yeah.
But like also looks like he's going to be a good athlete. Yeah. All right. Sounds like a game-changing kind of safety. That's the kind of safety that you could take in the first round. Again, don't know the specifics yet, but if that's what he turns out to appear to be as a prospect, great. There's also there are a few other like free safety types. I think Malachi Starks is kind of a everything type, is my understanding. But there are
And you
some deep
don't have to
safety
take
types
that
too.
guy in the first round. I mean, if there is a stud, I'm open to it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you can
That's
get
all I'm saying.
you can get the Kirby Joseph in the third round. You know, these guys are there. We've got Jesse Bates in the round 2, and that was a strong safety class. If you find the right guy who has that,
got to stop drafting strong safeties though.
you do.
Stop drafting box safeties. Stop drafting guys that are used as an overhang defender in
or
college
average
football.
athletes.
Just draft a real free safety who's an athlete.
Yep.
Some point in the draft.
That has actually played safety, right? Because Dax did not, you know.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
People are asking about Hilton already. When mixed with, could Dax be that replacement? Yeah, I think Dax could be, and I think he might be.
Dax could be the slot replacement, you mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
So let's say that Dax is ready to go for training camp.
He should be, right?
And DJ Turner should 100% be ready for training camp. Cam Taylor-Britt's not hurt. So let's say those three guys are healthy for training camp. You putting Dax in the slot right away? He was good outside.
I'm also interested in Josh Newton inside because you're not going to get the deep balls. You're not going to get the long speed that really killed him. And I think that has plagued him since TCU. It showed up at times in preseason and when he got to play. And he's a smart dude that they like that's willing to tackle. I mean, that sounds like a slot guy.
So who loses out?
I think you let him battle.
Yeah. I mean, to me, if they play the way that they played this year, that is good depth. But I would lean toward Cam being the one to saw man out, unless he because he such a streaky player. Like he had plenty of good games, but now he has this reputation with the refs, it seems, where he's getting called for stuff that he should not be getting called for after he was getting called for stuff where he should be getting called for it earlier.
Yeah, that's true. His technique is not taking a step for a guy that should be a veteran player. He's sloppy. It looks like his attention to detail has not improved at all. If anything, it's gotten worse. But he's still a big guy that can run fast and can play the ball, and that's valuable. And I thought he did well against – I had criticism with him against the run. And then I thought he bounced back really well this past year.
And they have, for now, retained the DB coaches.
True. I mean, they all performed at least a startable level, despite being inconsistent. So I think there's value in that.
The athleticism for Dax and DJ do play up.
Yeah.
Those guys looked.
Yes.
Like the athleticism was very obvious when you saw the way they played corner.
Yeah. Where
Cam Taylor-Britt has clear limitations athletically. Like he just can't turn. Trey Waynes and Lou like Trey Waynes. Like they went and spent big money on Trey Waynes, and I don't think that you're too far off in terms of style.
Yeah.
When you talk Cam Taylor-Britt, except Trey Waynes was probably a better run defender.
He was
like coverage style.
Yeah, I agree. Stiff speed guys that are sloppy. And I would agree with that. Yeah. I would say this as well. And this isn't anything crazy, but it really stinks. And we probably were looking at this defense completely differently. But Dax was getting better and better and better. And then the game he got hurt, they put him in the slot to replace Mike Hilton. And I'm like, ooh, they blitz him a couple times. Remember that early in the game? He's like, he almost knocked a screen pass down from Lamar. He gets in on a run. I'm like, that's like a souped up Mike Hilton in the slot, man. This could be fun. And then
that's true.
And then
that's how you sell me on putting Dax in the slot.
Yeah,
because I think he's good outside. But if you can sell me on him being a blitzer too,
yeah, because he was good at that even at safety.
But maybe okay, so this isn't really a thing anymore. But maybe they do the Leon Hall thing, where Basie's outside.
Oh, I see. Yeah,
Basie's outside. Nickel, he goes into slot.
Yeah, that's possible.
That actually probably makes sense for him.
And then, so for Turner, also, that was his best game of maybe his NFL career, right? That he gets hurt. He was flashing pretty well, playing the ball. He went from buzzing. I called his rookie year. He was like buzzing around receivers and couldn't really affect the ball to affecting the ball. And that's like a great second step to take. I was really hopeful. If they would have ended the year and looked strong, man, we'd look at this defense and their drafting lately much differently. It didn't happen. They got hurt and we kind of forget about them. We have to, but they ended their seasons on a high note despite the injuries.
Yeah. I still would be very open to a corner.
I would too. Because I don't know if they have a corner one, right?
Yeah.
Do they have a safety one? I don't believe so. Do they have a corner one? I don't believe so.
This is actually okay. Great point. Let's think about this from this perspective then. Like, these are the positions where they should be looking for impact players. Where should they be looking for impact players? Where they don't
Difference
have
makers,
them, right? Difference makers, force multipliers, whatever euphemism you want to use for like good players, right?
Right.
They have them at wide receiver.
No doubt.
They don't really have them on the offensive line. You hope that Amarius Mims can get there.
If you find an impact guard, huge boost to this.
Huge boost. Yeah, like one of these tackle guard guys. Maybe Booker, I guess. Some people really high on him. If you can get an impact player on the offensive line, huge boost. Mm-hmm. We're hoping that's Amarius Mims. We're hoping if Orlando Brown is healthy.
He looked good when he was healthy.
Man, that guy is going to be a wall for you in pass pro. He still can't move, but he's going to be a wall for you in pass pro.
Mm-hmm.
Tight end. Impact player, sign me up.
Yeah, I meant they don't have one.
Yeah, no, I got you. Right. So wide receiver, we're good.
Yep.
Offensive line, I kind of feel like impact player is a luxury for this team on the offensive line. But if you can get one, you take it.
If we're there at 17 and you're like, oh, we like this guy, take him.
Mm-hmm. But what are the odds of finding, I guess at a guard you could.
Right. Sure. If he's a tackle, you're like, we're just going to play my guard. In Orlando, if he gets hurt, we'll kick the guy to the left.
Yeah, tackle. Like if this is a DeCastro Zeitler draft, you could take a guard there.
Yeah.
I don't think it's that draft, but
we didn't know Zeitler was, you remember that's the 27th pick. We didn't know.
Yeah. Well, he was still seen as
top of the second round.
He and DeCastro, I remember this. I looked at it. Like there was not like DeCastro was seen by more people as the best guard, but not by all people. It wasn't just the Bengals that liked Zeitler more than DeCastro.
Right. And it helped. This conversation got much tighter when DeCastro was still there at 24 somehow. Because a lot of people thought 12, 13, 14, 15. And Zeitler was supposed to go top of the second.
And think about Quentin Nelson, who like when he was great.
That's an impact player. Like if you could find that, again, those guys go top 10 because they're freaks, but they're there. If you found that, that would be a huge boost.
People thought didn't people think Zion Johnson was going to be that kind of player this year?
Creed Humphrey, Trey Smith. If you got that,
yeah, Creed for sure
in this draft. I mean, it's possible we've seen a team do it. If you got that, huge. I mean, the trajectory for this offense now already high, but it goes.
You got to find a heart condition that takes you off of 2/3 of the NFL's board and then not take them off of your board.
Right. 5th round.
So yes, we would take one on the offensive line, but again, I would settle for average here.
For sure.
Personally, like if I were ranking where I want an impact player, I don't think an offensive lineman would be near the top. We'll see.
I'm just trying to figure out, would we take an impact player at 17 at guard? Would you?
Okay, let's do this.
You're gonna write it up.
Player ranking. Impact.
We'll put a number next to it after. Let's say yes or no first, and then we can put like a value.
Wide receiver. No, we have one.
Right.
Tight end. Yes. Offensive line. Yes.
Yes.
QB. No.
We don't need
running back. I'm going to say no. Right? Do we need to talk about this?
A lot of it depends on if they can fill free agency first, right? Again, so like it's a no.
Okay, we'll do maybe.
Okay.
We'll do low priority. We'll do maybe.
Well, we'll put a priority number next to it eventually.
Yeah, we'll do a priority. Okay. Need? Rank or priority.
There we go.
Priority.
Yeah, something like that.
All right. Those are all the offensive positions, right?
Yeah.
Let's just call this guard.
Okay.
They're definitely not tackle, and I would argue no to center as well.
Okay.
Okay, so we'll do tackle, no. OC, no. Okay. Defensive end, yes.
Yes.
Defensive tackle, yes. Linebacker,
and even though we have
yes.
an impact player at
Corner,
the end,
yes.
you could use
safety.
If you had 2, that'd be great. Free safety,
right?
specifically. Yeah.
Are any of these? I just don't care. You just can't convince me to care about a strong safety right now for the issues this defense has.
Unless he's unique, unless it's Derwin James, right? And I remember watching, like, this guy can do everything. What a freak. So that changes based on the available person.
But he could do everything.
That's like similar to guard, though, right? If you saw
Derwin could also play deep, though.
He could.
Okay, I'm leaving.
All right, so now priority. Wide receiver. We don't even have to, right? We can put a 1. Or 5 should be
lowest.
Oh, so this is 5 through 1? 1 through 5?
Priority, first priority, 5th priority is what I'm thinking.
Gotcha.
1 is high, 5 is low.
Great.
Tight end, 3.
2. Okay, fine.
Oh,
so yeah, because like I think Tyler Warren's awesome. Have you watched him? Here we go. We're gonna switch this up. You see Tyler Warren take snaps.
Hold on. Stop talking to me for a second. Okay. You can talk to the chat. Sorry. You can talk to the chat.
Chat. Would you take a tight end at 17? I'm telling you. I probably wouldn't, because this seems like a strong tight end class. There's gonna be guys in round 2 and 3 and 4 even. Always feels that way. Like, can we find an Isaiah Likely? And I don't even like Isaiah Likely, but it's funny when I watch tape, like, he still looks like Coastal Carolina Isaiah Likely. But Tyler Warren is a stud, absolute stud. Brock Bowers, we talked so much about Brock Bowers last year. Did we actually need Brock Bowers? No. So if you're saying, do we need one? No, I'm with you. But can I put Brock Bowers on this offense and go, oh, hey, we don't need to spend $30 million on T. Higgins. Maybe this helps the run game. He's an extension of the run game for how much they were getting him in the flats and letting him do work after the catch. I mean, if you could find a guy like that, you're not going to turn it down, is all I'm saying. If you think one of these prospects are excellent, you turning that down? I'm not.
What number is Tyler Warren?
44.
Okay.
And he will be all over, from the slot to the backfield to taking direct snaps and short yardage to out wide.
He's not on the field on this play, or he's split out. Okay. Okay, there's our arrows.
Yep. Right, would you take Travis Kelce at 17? Right, yeah, of course you would, if it's him. You're probably better off going to YouTube for highlights here and just to see what he can do.
Tyler Warren highlights. Give me some
24 highlights. First one.
That's so long.
Yeah, they're going to give you everything.
Look at this shitty ball. God, college quarterbacks suck so much.
Oh, Warren over the Michigan guy, Colston Loveland. Maybe.
When I said he wasn't on the field, was he getting a handoff? It was a running play.
Dude, I'm telling you. That's the versatility. Back? Yeah, he takes direct snaps on short yardage. He gets running back plays. He's splitting these guys up the seam. Great ball skills. Goes up over these guys.
Smooth athlete.
Yep.
Transition to runner is perfect.
Yards after the catch. Power runner after the catch. Makes guys miss at a high rate. His number, I think he had someone pull his stats up so Jake can continue watching this and type them in here. I think his stats are pretty crazy. And he had no other weapons, I believe, on the surrounding him. So it's crazy that he gets open as much as he does.
Many of these are just cover 3.
Yep.
They
just
don't know how
the
to
same.
fucking
You'll see some third down routing guys up. Direct snap, they're saying is what he got on that. Yeah, he gets.
Okay, he did get the snap. I was looking for him lined up literally anywhere but the guy getting the snap. That's why I didn't.
I understand Fannin has crazy stats as well, but Fannin, they see that catch. Fannin also had much lower competition.
So far, like 75% of these are college defenses don't know how to run cover 3.
I mean, it's Kent State. We're starting with Kent State. But if you want to see what he can do,
that's a pretty sick catch. And then he gets concussed a little bit.
And we're going to get a yak play here. I think a screen with him.
He throws the ball here.
Oh, he threw the ball. So you want to know how versatile we're talking here. He's a lefty.
Is he lefty?
Yeah, he's a lefty. So what I'm saying is this guy has option number 2 upside.
Run and read option.
Yep.
Okay. All right.
Right.
All right.
Like, are you having fun?
All right.
We can't score from the 2-yard line.
All right. All right. All right. All right. All right. You got me.
We can't score from the 2. Let me get Tyler Warren getting direct snatch, jumping over the pile. 104 catches, 1,233 yards, and 8 touchdowns. Thank you, Steve Ross.
That was pretty fucking good. Just want to look at, let's take a look in here.
But a lot of people are saying no at 17. So I get it because it's a tight end. I get it.
Doesn't block. Does he block?
What do you got there? 52? I can't actually. That's actually pretty small for me. So I don't know if it is for everyone else. There we go.
It'll be smaller for you than for everyone else.
Yeah.
But
right. I'm not full screen here. That's right.
Yeah, I mean, okay. All right. Well, we have the chance to go back to these.
Right. My idea here with all these is if the impact guy is there. So we don't have an impact guy.
Okay. So let's do this. Let's do this like Tyler Warren.
He's no Drew Sample, Del Ross says. He is no Drew Sample.
Actually, let's do this. Let's do like a guy that we know is good in the NFL, like Brock Bowers level player. Okay. So here we would say like Quentin Nelson level player.
Right.
Do we want that more or less than we want Brock Bowers? Probably more.
Probably more. Harder to find.
Yeah, probably more. Okay, QB, Joe Burrow.
5. We have Joe Burrow. We also have Jamar Chase for wide receiver. You don't got to get crazy. Running back, maybe. 4.
So running back would be
Saquon. It's only the few guys that are elite. Derrick Henry, like Saquon Barkley.
Henry.
Christian McCaffrey, but he's not healthy anymore. But yeah.
How much does this offense care about those guys? Would be my thing. I don't think this offense cares about those guys as much as other offenses in the NFL.
If they had Saquon, would they care? If they had Christian McCaffrey,
not as much as Philly.
Oh, I agree. But what I'm saying is, Derrick Henry is a 2nd round pick. I mean, would you make it, if you're there in round 2, top of the round 2, it's still low priority for me, even with all that. I would think a highest I would be is 3.
I think 4 sounded good. Did you say 4 at first?
I said 4 originally. I'll go 4 as well.
Like, obviously would want that more than a receiver because I actually put this here.
It.
This is conditional. If they don't have T,
that's true.
Wide receiver goes up.
Yep, I agree.
Tackle. We're saying no.
Yeah, we're just saying no.
Saying no for center. Edge. This is like Trey. Let's just say Trey.
At 1.
I mean 1, right? Yeah. Okay. Defensive tackle. This would be like Dexter Lawrence.
1,
right? Yeah. These are transformational players. Linebacker. Yep. Fred Warner.
Yeah. 3. No, I put tight end 2. Would
I rather have Fred Warner or Brock Bowers? I would probably rather have Fred Warner on this team. Like peak Fred Warner.
Yeah. I think I agree.
Luke Kuechly. Would you rather have Luke Kuechly or Travis Kelce?
Oh.
I would rather have Kuechly. Not close.
Yeah, I'm going to go
with this team. For this
I think it's 2, though. It can't be a 1.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. Yeah. Okay, corner. This would be like a Patrick Surtain.
1. If I can get 1, I'm taking it.
Yeah. I would rather have Dexter and Trey than Surtain, personally.
Okay.
It's really close though.
Yeah. Want to put Jesse Bates for this?
Yeah, just for the
pain.
Jesse Bates the 3rd. He gets his full honorific. Hi, Romer. Free safety. This is probably the same as linebacker, tight end.
Yeah,
right?
I agree too. 5-5. I mean, if I
Who
get
would this even be? This would be like Kyle
I'd probably say
Hamilton.
4. Yeah, Kyle. Then if I can get Kyle, listen, Kyle. Where was Kyle Hamilton drafted? 16, 17, 18? It was in that range.
Yeah,
I'd go 4. I mean, if there's a Kyle Hamilton there, he graded super high for us. He could win Defensive Player of the Year in his future. He is unique enough that I would be on it. 14 was it? Thanks, Delroth. So we wouldn't even get Kyle Warner or Kyle Hamilton.
Yeah, it was 14. That number sounds right.
Yep. That's why where's 14?
Trying to decide if I'm talked into this or not.
Tizzo says he's too unique, hard to compare, and really,
it is. That's true.
And I agree. Like
okay, so who are the other
good strong safety?
I'm so oblivious to this position
because I've only focused on free safety for so long.
Don't do this shit to me again, man. We have box splits here.
Xavier McKinney. Yeah, we got free safety splits. You choose.
This is sorted by box.
Okay.
Players with the most box snaps.
Yeah, they don't. These are Buda Baker. He plays a lot of slot.
Joseph, huh?
Surprising.
Oh, but he still plays a ton of free.
Yeah, he does. It's either box or free safety.
So like
anything else
of these guys that are like truly pure, like as this is like the overhang player. Josh Metellus. This is an overhang. No, he's not.
Kyle
this
Duggar.
Is an overhang player. Justin Reed. Like I don't care about Justin Reed.
Yep. Nick Cross.
Duggar's good. But like I'm not excited about Duggar's.
I don't have
McKinney's playing deep so much.
He is. McKinney's a good player.
Yeah, I think I'm staying on a 5 here. I don't think I care. Like if it's Kyle Hamilton, I care.
Other than that, then we're going with Jordan Battle.
Yeah.
I'm with you.
There's just like, if we're like prioritizing, like there's so many other things that
don't have to have it. I don't have to attack it.
Let's just take QB off. Because I want to do this. This is not part of the table. Oh, yeah, it is. Tired?
Just now getting there. I just had coffee too. First yawn in the night. I'm good for 12 yawns before I'm out.
So what I was thinking we could do here is what if we force ourselves to break ties?
By going 0.5s or 0.1, 0.2? This is how off the rails we go, but I actually think this is a quality.
Yeah, I mean, if you guys are bored, let us know. We have lost viewers, but it's past midnight on the East Coast. Which
and if you have questions, we can. And if you want to see us argue positions, we're about.
Yeah, if you disagree with anything.
Yeah, that's right. Feel free. You say no. Give me a strong.
That's what chat is for. Okay, so let's try to break this 4-way tie that you have. I've already broken the tie for corner.
Okay.
But would I rather? Yeah, because just because of like the current. Because this is for the Bengals right now. This is not general philosophy. This is Bengals right now.
Adding because they have quality corners right now.
No, because I think that like Quentin Nelson, Trey Hendrickson, Dexter Lawrence, I think make a bigger impact on the team than Patrick Surtain.
I also think
right now
they'd be multipliers. Like putting Dexter next to Trey Hendrickson would be crazy. Number one, getting 2 Trey Hendricksons would be nuts. Like put Max Crosby. Honestly, I'd give the 17th pick for Max Crosby. And that's how, I think the 2 of them would be absolutely insane together to the point of your pass rush is almost fixed. It still needs some interior athletes, but you could piece it together. And that's probably the best way to do it. When you look at the free agency and look at the guys that are available, it's like, there's not a lot of great options. I'm with you. If I were to have to break them, because I think guard and D tackle are the 2 biggest needs on the team. But I don't have to take a guard in the first round if I'm thinking.
No, that's not part of it.
I know.
We're not talking about that.
I'm trying to break a tie here. I got to go further, right?
Nope. We just got to think about the impact, like Quentin Nelson versus Dexter Lawrence, regardless of what it takes to get them. I don't think we can think about. We'll start tricking ourselves.
I don't know how to split that. I don't know. I don't think that's easy to say.
I would say
Nelson
Dexter
versus
Lawrence, personally.
Like a game wrecker over someone who is just, he's a game. Nelson, you could run behind him. You feel completely safe with him protecting.
Yeah.
I want a 3rd and 1 situation. We're going behind Nelson.
I want a 3rd and 1 situation. I'll put Dexter Lawrence at fullback, motherfucker. Let's go.
That's how we get Jake to say fuck. I don't know that I have to. Do we have to break these? I think those are the 4 biggest areas where the Bengals could add.
I can talk myself into Bowers over Surtain, though.
Bowers was so damn good this year.
Mm-hmm.
I think the examples hurt this conversation for me to try and break ties, because I start to say I would take any of these guys. I don't give a shit.
Well, of course. Of course. What about free safety, linebacker, tight end? Is that a tie that we feel like we need to break?
Yeah, I would take a free safety over them.
I think I would too.
Like I would go 2.5 for tight end and linebacker, because we don't even have a 3 here, so maybe those guys are just 3s.
Maybe linebacker's 3.
Maybe linebacker is 3.
I think tight end might be before linebacker. I think that's how I see it anyway.
I think I would agree with that. If I had a stud tight end, and especially because the value at tight end, you don't have to pay those guys the same as receivers. A lot of times they make half the money of those guys, if that you can get a lot of production for cheap at tight end. I would love for the Bengals to find that tight end 1 for the next 5 years.
How do you feel about strong safety being a 4 after this conversation?
We're taking those other guys out, taking those other positions.
Yeah. I'm going to move this down too.
If T is kept,
I mean, I guess it should be higher than a wide receiver if they keep T.
Yeah.
So that's fair.
And we're talking about running back. Running back, strong safety, I think that's similar. We put running back out of the 4.
I would rather have a running back than a strong safety, so that's why I have the difference, I guess.
Tizza, I don't know that Eric All, even healthy, would be a tight end 1.
No.
We never saw the receiving upside of a tight end 1. We never saw that.
I like that my gaming buddies dropped in here. A couple of my gaming buddies dropped in.
What are you doing?
Comments. Like, I think Bauer should be ranked 1.
Thanks.
I can't remember if he was telling me he played fantasy football or not. All right, that was fun.
Yeah, that worked. That was productive.
That was fun.
I may come back to this. We may adjust this. Let free agency roll. We may adjust this.
Or I guess this is just like because that's like impact players is a difference.
No doubt. I thought it was better when you said Bilal, by the way.
Bilal?
Z-Dog. He said gaming buddy knows Bilal.
Gaming buddy knows Bilal. Romer is the other one. Yeah, you guys get to go on the big screen. You should go to bed. Oh no, it's not that late.
For you? You're on the West Coast.
Romer is not. Anyway, I'm not going to dox him. All right. Is there anything else? We got through all the defense?
We did.
Don't really want to talk about Evan McPherson.
Don't either. He's here. The contract is going to make it. So that's part of the reason I think he went on IR. Just, you know what? Let's salvage you. We know you're here next year. And maybe we can cool down some of the heat that was on him.
I think Rico will be the punter, although I think that's totally fine. Mike Hilton.
I saw an advanced stat that had Calaitis as like a bottom 6 long snapper.
Yeah. I don't know, man. Whatever. I don't know, man. I'm not going to get worked up over that. Let's see. Where is
long snapping here?
I thought they did.
Social team's great. And then can you click? No. I don't think you can then.
I thought maybe they only do it internally. I feel like I've seen this. Punt coverage. Very average. Yeah, I'm not going to get too
depth there.
I got a pee, Joe. Should we end the stream?
Yeah, I think it's about time. I think we did well here. These are long forms, talking, ranting, watching. This is a good example of what we typically can get into.
All right, what's this about? Emails on January 9th. Bengals resume meeting, tensions remain.
Oh, is this the... Both sides' emails got leaked. Apparently, both sides are pissed. Both sides are disagreeing on length of...
The payment of a surtax revenue the Bengals owe the county. Blackburn wrote, this payment is being made with real hesitance because the county has not performed its obligations under the lease and because efforts to modernize Paycor Stadium have never seemed more remote. I was a bit perplexed by the tone given yesterday's meeting and this morning's call, but can only hope this will change as progress occurs this year, responded somebody on the county side. We'll have to read this whole thing.
Yeah.
I mean, this sounds like some CYA lawyer shit to me. But let's end the stream. We'll have to read this.
X-Dog goes, San Antonio Bengals?
Yeah. I mean,
we're not there yet.
This is the reason that this is difficult for me to talk about is because it is so far outside of the expertise. Like, I can talk about the salary cap. I can talk about money. I can talk about film. I can talk about scheme. I can talk about analytics. I cannot talk about lease negotiations and politics in Cincinnati. And that's why the Cincinnati Business Courier is covering it instead of most people on the Bengals beat. Like, I haven't seen a single beat reporter touch this. Like, I haven't seen a single beat reporter touch it at all. Anyway, thanks for hanging out. It'll be on YouTube. Might be tough to watch on YouTube. I would have a hard time watching this on YouTube. It's all over the place. But thanks for hanging out. Enjoyed doing it. And how often do you think we're going to do this, Joe? What's the plan here?
To be honest with you, I'd like to, if I wasn't so busy this weekend too, I'm going to be bouncing around. I would like to stream while a game is on. If we want to do like a championship playoff game.
What about Monday?
During the championship, the
college football defense.
Yeah, those would be good times. I probably will be recording for my Tuesday show on Monday. So if I can get it done. Yeah, I won't be able to. I work until 6 p.m. So, but that is a great example of when I would like to. Well, if my schedule didn't align,
can you just get a job? Here's what needs to happen. The 100 of you that are still here. The 100 of you that are still here,
subscribe.
Need to allow Joe to do this full time.
If there's a sponsor still watching.
Yeah, we got to get our sponsors going.
We can do shows for you guys.
And you know what? We somebody lied to you, Phaeton. Old school Unreal Tournament. Man, that takes me back. Anyway, what I was going to say is we either would need to put this behind a subscription paywall. And we would need people to stay engaged with the subscription paywall all year.
Yeah.
Or we would need some serious sponsors. So if somebody wants to sponsor the offseason.
Yeah, we've got a lot. And then we can do it consistently. So
yeah, we'll make it happen consistently. Give me that Doritos sponsorship, Doritos.
Your camera's reversed. That's why you looked a little weird today.
Oh yeah. We can fix that.
There, your hair's parted that way. Yeah. Oh, yeah. And that's where the door is. Oh.
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't even think about that. Everything was reversed. All right, guys, we're going to end the stream now. Thanks for hanging out. Appreciate y'all very much. And we'll see you the next time we do it. We'll try to let you know with more.